Well, good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday to you. Ben and Woods, 97.3, The Fan. Great to be here with all of you. Great night's sleep last night. Slept like a rock right until the alarm. Oh, my God, I feel so well rested. I just feel fantastic. I hate the L, of course. We'll talk about the L and all of the overreactions I saw. I'm just going to call them reactions. It's your natural reaction. Who am I to judge how you react to a baseball game, right? I'm Woodsy. To my right is our beloved Frank Marchese, a.k.a. Italian Paul. Good morning, my friend.
We're going with me before your co-host?
Yeah,
that's cool.
that's the order we go
okay.
in. I saved the best for last.
Okay,
He
fair
actually, when we signed here, he requested it and said, I want to be the last one introed.
Much in the same way I'm not supposed to look him in the eye?
Correct.
Okay.
The same principles apply, Frankie. He wants to be last. Okay?
Fair enough.
That's kind of how it works around here. And here he is, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, Benjamin Higgins. Good morning, buddy.
Good morning. Think about like in the Saturday Night Live Open.
Yeah.
You introduce all of the cast members, the musical guest, and in the end, you introduce the host and the star of the program last.
I told you.
This is where I am.
Now,
Good morning.
That never actually happened, but you now know that he really would like it if that was the way.
This is, I also slept very soundly last night. Had the same experience where the alarm went off, and I was actually like surprised. Oh, it's time to get up. And I'm sure there are some people who are listening and going, "Is that unusual that you
Yes.
need your alarm to get up?" And
Yes.
it's just, it's somehow it's part of the aging process. And we were talking with Frank this morning. Frank, a bit of a younger fellow, just about some of the perils of aging and things you don't realize as you're in your 20s and maybe early 30s, that once you get into your 40s and 50s, just become a reality. And part of that is there's no more good night's sleep anymore.
Correct.
It doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
You're lucky if you get half of a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
And usually you're waking up on your own before the alarm.
Correct.
And that just happens.
It's just
You're not
it.
soundly asleep anymore.
Frankie, do you know the latest that I've slept in the last, well, I've been doing morning radio almost 15 years. Do you know the latest I've actually slept in? 7. And at 7, I woke up, I was like, you are a louse, you're a load, have wasted the entire day. Like, my whole family could be out of town, and I could go to sleep. I could go out with buddies, have a few beers, midnight, go to sleep. I'm up by 6 or 5 or 4, and I'm like, this sucks. When you wake up on a Saturday, and both your kids are home, and they wake you up, and you go, it is 5:30. Both kids are up. You go take them to breakfast, and you finish up, and you're like, it's 7 a.m. The day has not even started. I still have 17 hours straight with these dudes. It can get a little gnarly at times. But we were also talking about, I hurt my back somehow. So I think swinging this weekend, I swung way too hard. And when you don't make solid contact, that happens. When you Randy roll over a couple of balls like I did over the weekend, my back is screaming at me. I was lying on the heating pad last night, like a geriatric is what I am now. So Ben hurt himself over the weekend, sleeping. Yeah, you get hurt sneezing, yawning. Pretty much anything you do, you can get hurt. So you really have to be careful the older you get, Frankie.
Getting in the car.
Getting out of the car. Yeah.
The sneezing I do all the time. And partly because of how close I like to sit, because it's more comfortable. I bang my shin every now and again on the dash. Oh, my goodness, that hurts.
Well, the difference is when you get older and you bang your shin, it shatters. The actual bone will shatter. So,
True.
So when you're young, enjoy your youth, Frankie, is what we're trying to say out there. Speaking of youth, I needed to do this very, very quick. My wife, Hannah, her business partner, Elise, just had her baby boy. She's pregnant. Well, she was pregnant. And just brought into the world this morning their baby boy. And welcome to San Diego. He's, the newest Tier 1, Staten McCoy Stasel. It's a very cowboy name. I thought Staten. Yeah, Staten Stasel. I don't know that that's the reaction that they were looking for.
Is it Staten?
Stayton.
Staten.
Staten. It's a powerful name.
Staten the obvious.
Yeah, Staten the obvious. It's a great new bit. Staten Woods is good. Is a good, like, strong cowboy-ish name. But he's here now, and so congratulations to Chad and Elise. and their family has grown by one. And strap in, because 2 is way, way harder. It's way harder. But at least they got a little boy. They got a boy and a girl. But, yeah, Hannah says it's a family name, you monsters. But,
I know. You know what? I'm always torn because do you want a name to be unique? I think that's always, like, special, creative. Give someone a name that not everybody or anyone else has. It really can help define you and be something that you can – have a signature about you, a name that's not like anybody else's. But also when you're a kid, sometimes you feel like I just wish I had
you want to fit in.
Just kind of a normal name that everyone else has.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately, though, having a unique name is a better thing than having just the same name as everybody else.
So I disagree with you.
A lot of Bens. There's a lot of Steves.
I disagree with you in that it was that way in 1981. It's not that way anymore. I mean, you should hear the names in Bo's class. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, that is very interesting. Very, very interesting name. So it's becoming the norm. When we were kids, yeah, it was Maki, Ricky, Danny, Terry, Timmy, Tommy, Davey, Joey, Johnny, Robbie, and Brian. I mean, those are your buddies. That's it. And now it's like, oh, this is Brixton and Braxton and Claxton and Zephyr and Xander. I mean, it's like my T-ball team was insane. I mean, it was like Brixton, Mason. I mean, you just go. And nobody has the normal. I had like one Jack on my team. I mean, he's a Jack. But I love it, man. Welcome to the world, Staten. Congratulations to the Stacels. We love you guys. And, yeah, two's way harder. It's way harder. It's like infinitely harder. I took my firstborn yesterday, picked him up from school, went down to those fields on Birmingham to get a little practice. He wanted some grounders off the dirt and hit a little BP. No problem. But we stopped at 7-Eleven on the way because I didn't bring him a snack. And he just got out of school, and I said, all right, go in there, pick out something you want. So he goes straight to the Gatorade aisle. Straight. Like, walks in, beeline to Gatorade. And he's standing there looking, he goes, a lot of choices. I go, yeah, a lot. So he goes for, I brought it in. He goes for this one. So it's a limited edition. You see it, what flavor would you guess?
It looks grapish, maybe?
Right.
Like a dark purple or something?
No, that's Midnight Ice. That's Midnight Ice. So I go, are you sure? He goes, yeah, I want that. And I go, well, why? He goes, it looks good. Because it's brand new, like featured. It was the featured new Gatorade. And I said, what do you think Midnight Ice tastes like? And he's like, I have no idea. I'm like, how brilliant are they? They just throw up some goofy name, Midnight Ice.
I mean, technically, ice is just water.
In the dark?
That shouldn't change the flavor of the water.
It never should. So I go, you know what? All right, we'll get you your Midnight Ice. I'm going to grab, for me, I'm just going to get this lemon lime one that I know he likes. Because I knew definitely I was going to end up drinking the Midnight Ice. And so we get in the car. He goes, yeah, no, I don't like it. I go, oh, okay, perfect. You take the lemon lime one. But I'm like, it was so weird watching advertising work on my 6-year-old. Like watching it in real time, I was like, oh, man, they really got us, don't they?
Interesting. You just called it lemon lime Gatorade.
Yeah.
The traditional original flavor. The Padres.
The urine green one.
Yeah, the Padres did one of their social media videos with the players a couple of weeks ago asking, what do you call Gatorade flavors? Do you call it fruit punch or do you call it red?
Red.
You call it lemon lime, or do you call it green. Or yellow, whatever?
Yellow.
And almost every single player said, yellow. I want a yellow Gatorade. I want a red Gatorade.
Yeah. Blue.
But not the actual flavor, just the color.
The color.
Blue Gatorade. You call it Gatorade by its color, not by its actual flavor name.
Well, I told Bo, too. I said, when I was a kid, I said, they used to give us Gatorade in glass bottles. That was the only way you could buy Gatorade, was in glass bottles. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you pop the bottom, you hear that sound, pop that thing off, and that thing out of it on a hot Texas summer day, an ice-cold Gatorade in a glass bottle. I can taste it to this day. There was a flavor, and I cannot remember it, but it was, what was the first flavor of Gatorade?
Lemon lime, right? Isn't that the original flavor?
I don't know. I think there was like a Gatorade, I remember it being kind of orangey, but it wasn't orange. I don't know. I'm going to have to look. Timmy says I'm stuck in the 80s in drink names. I don't know that Midnight Ice does anything for me, though, Timmy. Like, I don't. It
Sounds
like
kind of cool and refreshing, I guess.
It sounds like a cologne, right? Midnight Taint from Gatorade. I don't know. It was wild watching it work in real time, watching my kid.
You remember Gator Gum?
The best.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Loved Gator Gum.
Your mouth is this is so good.
I don't think it was thirst quenching or really had that many electrolytes actually in it, but I do remember when I got my hands on a stick of Gator Gum.
Okay, lime green.
It was very exciting.
Lime green was the first. There was like this.
Well, what I was going to say was I looked on the Google machine as
Okay.
well. It said in its early years, the Gatorade brand considered a single product line, Gatorade Thirst Quencher, which was produced in liquid and powder form under two flavor variants, lemon lime and orange. These two remained as the only two flavor options for nearly 20 years until the addition of fruit punch in '83.
There was one, and I just can't remember which one it was, and I loved it so much when I was a kid. But the glass bottle. But yeah, man, they got like they have like the white Gatorade now that looks milky.
Glacier Freeze.
Glacier Freeze.
Friola's mentions. How does that taste different from Midnight Ice? Glacier Freeze
My favorite one.
Should probably be very similar, I would think, to Midnight Ice.
It's so dumb, dude. But yeah, so I ended up enjoying this Midnight Ice yesterday, and I enjoyed it more than I think I enjoyed that baseball game last night. It was not a very enjoyable game for our San Diego Padres, and you got big Strand Diego vibes last night, and I hate when the Strand Diego Padres show up. I love the San Diego Padres, but I do not like the Strand Diego Padres. The lack of ability to get a big knock in a clutch time, plenty of opportunities to beat that team last night. I wanted to ask you before we get into it, Benny, on the irrational scale, how irrational were you feeling after last night's game? Because if it's a 10, if it's 10 points we're grading on, I was at about a 7.5 of feeling very irrational after that game. And I also don't like to feel that way either. I like to try to be, this year at least, try to be a little bit more level-headed, a little more graceful, I guess, if you will. But last night I was feeling fairly irrational.
I was actually very low on the irrational scale.
How high do you get? Like, what's the max you'll get during
I never
the
get
season?
much
4?
more than 5 or 6. But I was in the 2-3 range yesterday. I guess, and we'll talk about it coming up. I guess I didn't expect them to win last night. I didn't expect them to lose either. But I figured they're going up against a tough left-handed pitcher. They don't play well against tough left-handed pitchers. So I figured this is probably going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be a coin flip in the end. And it's probably going to be low-scoring, and it's going to be a one-run game.
They've won
And you're not going to win every single one of those.
They had won 7 games at home. 7! Last night was lucky number 8.
I did not expect them to win. I didn't expect them to lose. I just expect one of those games that could go either way, would probably come down to a hit or two with runners in scoring position, which can happen for any team. So
I want to try to
I wasn't overly surprised last night.
I want to try to get your irrational meter up to at least like a 5 or 6 today, and I'm going to try that. Also, if you, I think if you say that you don't expect to win, I'm going to pour this Midnight Ice all over you for the rest of the day. You can let the juices run down your chin. But no, we'll talk about it. Take your calls today too. People were
good calls yesterday.
They were, and people were emotional last night after that game. They were emotional.
Like even Ryan Cohen was like emotional.
Yes,
and he's like the most positive fan ever. And when I saw his tweet, and I can call it up a little bit later, I go, wow, people are feeling a lot worse about this game than I was last night.
You should search deep within your soul to find out why everyone cares more than you do.
That's possible. Maybe it's just because I was focused on anchoring the news last night.
I wanted to get into that as well.
We can do that next, too. We'll set the menu. It was a smooth night on the anchor desk as well for yours truly.
Of course it was.
We got Italian Paul here. We are off and running on a Tuesday morning. Tier 1s, thank you for joining us. We'll be back after Kelly's traffic. Don't go anywhere. It's Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I think it's important living in the year 2024 that people be as media savvy as possible. So I'm going to give everybody a quick lesson here. Welcome back. It's Ben and Woods, and we'll set the menu for the show.
I love when you talk down to me.
So last night, Ben's playing little media savviness. So last night they needed me to fill in on the anchor desk, the 11 o'clock news at Channel 10. And you can be a media savvy watcher and know, what does a slow news day look like? Everyone has different interests and different stories. So how do you know? Is it a slow news day or not? I thought that was an interesting story. When a lot of the stories are follow-ups on stories from like 2 days or 3 days ago, that's a slow news day. And last night was a fairly, I would describe as a slow news day. We were following up on the shark attack in Del Mar was a big story over the weekend, but nothing new had bumped it from the kind of the front of the show. So it was still kind of our main story, even though it didn't happen. Nothing new changed. The shark didn't attack someone else. I don't think they saw the shark again. You're just kind of following up on what was a big story a couple of days ago. And we had a few other follow-up type stories last night. So for the most part, it was a quiet, uneventful 30 minutes on the anchor desk for yours truly last night.
Smooth, though. Went smooth.
Went smooth, yeah.
I saw a story yesterday that made me feel like a rube. We had a competing network on at 5 o'clock. Sorry. It was on. I have no control of it. All right? That's the missus.
Someone does, though.
Yeah, the missus does. Yeah. And there was a story that they did.
Take that up with her, I guess?
Yes, take it up with her. There was a story that said Leonardo DiCaprio is in San Diego filming a movie. And I found myself a 48-year-old man way too excited about it. And I was making dinner, and I go, what? No way. Where is that? Is that the 163? And Hannah's like, it was like a highway with some grass around it, and he's like has a rifle, and he like points it, and there's guys filming, and I was like, this is amazing. What movie is it? When's it coming out? Who else is in it? Is Scorsese directing this? Like, what's going on? And I stopped and checked myself. I was like, you're a rube, man. This is how somebody in Wichita acts if somebody is filming a movie in their town. But, I mean, I got like way too excited about it. So if anybody has any info on this Leonardo DiCaprio movie, maybe where it's filmed.
I mean, Leo is
he's a huge star.
Small handful of, all right, he's in the Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks.
Yes, he's a movie star.
Like a huge movie star. If he's in your town, I think even if he's, other than like New York or L.A., anywhere else he goes, it's a newsworthy, notable story.
Sure.
That Leo DiCaprio
is in your town
okay. Doing something.
Okay. All right. I feel better then. But you would have thought I was way too excited about that. So I felt like a real San Diegan at that point. I really did. I was like, look at us. Look at us with Leonardo DiCaprio in our town.
It doesn't really matter unless you're a female between the ages of 18 and 25. You didn't have a prayer getting close to him in the first place.
Well, oh God, that is a shot. That was a shot. Yeah,
I didn't either.
My wife is 34, and she's way too old for him. Way too old. Like 9 years too old. So he was filming in Enza Borrego. So there you go.
Well, that's not really San Diego. I mean,
so that's another thing that we do here. We go to the fringes and make it our own. That's very well done. Very well done by the network there. Sorry, babe. She said, cool. Yeah, I'm sorry. You're way too old for him. And you have 2 kids. Like, this is not happening.
Sounds like now it's like a Western or something.
He wasn't in Western gear.
Okay.
It looked like he was like an outlaw or something on the run. And he had this rifle.
A non-Western
outlaw. Like a modern day outlaw. He looked kind of like a badass. But, yeah. So, sorry. Sorry to derail you guys. Please set the menu.
All right, let's see. Well, obviously, we will talk about last night's 2-1 loss to the Angels coming up. All the highlights in our Padres wrap-up in our next segment at 6:35. As Woods mentioned, we'd love to get some calls. We did some later in the show yesterday at the end. We could do some earlier calls today if you want to get online. 833-288-0973. I know there were some strong reactions to losing to the Angels, another bad team. Even though haven't lost the series yet.
They haven't lost the series yet, Mike Schill.
It's just one game. They do have a chance to come back and win the next two. And
you're not going to alibi last night's
sure,
loss,
Mike
are you?
Schilt will love to come back, win the next two games, and be able to say,
hey,
yeah, well, just won another series. This is what we're trying to do.
Hey,
but
by the way, just to be clear, winning series is awesome.
it is.
It's awesome. Like, I'm seeing people complaining constantly about winning series. Don't. Winning series is incredible. And that's exactly what you want your team to do. Try to keep that in mind. As hard as a 2-1 loss to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim was last night, with plenty of opportunity to break that game open, and you just couldn't do it. Remember, at the end of the day, winning series is fantastic. Now, if you lose this series, that's a whole different ballgame. Whole different ballgame.
Coming up at 7 o'clock, we'll play some Take on Woods. Again, we're giving away the tickets to the Late Night Kings at the San Diego County Fair on June 21st. So you can win instantly today in our Take on Woods game at 7:10. Don't do this at 7:20. At 7:35, big story yesterday in sports, in baseball, and the headlines were all about a Padres player potentially being banned for life from baseball. So we will definitely talk about the Tucupita Marcano story that was going around the country yesterday in our 7:35 segment. Second half of the show will include, of course, Jesse Agler. It is Tuesday, so we'll play the Incorporator, talk to the voice of the Padres, get his thoughts on the road trip to Kansas City and now Anaheim as he continues on the road. So I assume, I don't know, is Jesse, do you think he's at home? Why wouldn't he be? He lives up in the North County.
It's an interesting question that I might have texted him
Is
yesterday.
he at a hotel in Anaheim? I have no idea.
I know the answer.
Woods knows the answer to that one.
Yeah.
Our Italian Paul Reindl report. Frank will have some headlines for us in our 9 o'clock hour. And then at 9:35, we just confirmed because we want to learn more about tonight's starting pitcher making his major league debut. Adam Mazur is getting called up by the Padres from AAA. And Kevin Charity from Mad Friars, who has been covering him in the minor leagues as he's come up, as they do all the Padres prospects, will give us a little scouting report. What to expect for Game 2 of the series tonight with a brand new pitcher on the mound. One of these actual ranked prospects in the Padres organization getting the call up to replace Yu Darvish in his turn in the rotation as he is on the injured list. So we'll find out more about Adam Mazur at 9:35.
I wonder if the Mazur family is currently en route to Anaheim.
I would think so.
I would think so, too. The in-game interview, somebody tweeted yesterday, I can't wait for the in-game parental interview. It's one of my favorite parts of sports. It really is, and I get choked up almost every time I see one. It's just the coolest thing to watch the mom and dad and the brother, the girlfriend there. It's one of my favorite parts of sports. I hope we get that tonight on the broadcast.
See, where are they coming from? He was born in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Happy to come to Anaheim.
Have a longer trip for them if that's where they're still based out of. So we'll talk to Kevin Charity at our 9:35 segment. Coming up next, though, Padres wrap up, and we will discuss the game yesterday, the 2-1 loss to the Los Angeles Angels. That's next with Bennett Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This is immigrant song, right?
Yes.
Why do they call it that?
I don't know.
Well.
Coming from the land of the midnight ice.
You're supposed to know all these things. That's your role here.
It's talking about immigrants. He's saying, come from the land of the ice and snow, from the midnight sun where the hot springs blow. Hammer of the gods.
They moved from Iceland.
Yeah, it's like a Nordic song. Don't know why, but the song kicks ass. It's a great bumper song.
It is a good bumper music
bumper
for
song.
sure
Yes.
for the show. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Prize Picks. Join the biggest moments in sports with Prize Picks. Pick your players, pick your stats, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details. Again, our phone lines are open. 833-288-0973. You can be online as we get into our Padres wrap-up. Start talking about last night's game right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Hi. This is where you play the Padres wrap-up here, Frankie.
It's all right.
It's all right. It's a shame if they lose, and then we go right into the highlights of the game.
Or the lowlights, as it were.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. But let me know when you're ready, and we'll just kick it right to you. He's good to go. Ladies and gentlemen.
It's a shame if they lose.
Oh, a shame indeed.
It's a complete crap.
Oh, I did not like that.
Here are the lowlights from yesterday's game.
Are you kidding me?
Boo.
It's the Padres wrap-up, presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else.
We'll give it 16 minutes of salt, and then we'll, get back on the bump and figure it out.
It's not your fault.
1-2, Manny hits it in the air to deep left center field. Look out in your Belinda. Into the rock pile, a home run for Machado. He has always hit the Angels well, and that continues here tonight. Padres take a 1-0 lead in the first. Here's the pitch on the way, and a hard hit liner up the middle into center. Base hit, Rengifo being waved. On his way, he'll come in and score. RBI single Willie Calhoun, and the Angels have tied it up 1-1 here in the fourth. Pitch swung on, sent in the air to center field, fairly deep, should be deep enough. Merrill will make the catch. Adele tags from third, he will score easily. A pinch hit, sac fly for Guillorme, and the Angels have their first lead of the night, 2-1 in the bottom of the eighth.
It came down to some execution. Good tight ball game, well pitched, well played. We had our shot with Profar in the leadoff double, and thought he had the right intent, just didn't get it quite far enough to move him over, and almost clearly the reverse of that the next inning with Adele, leading off with the double, and they were able to move him over, and then they were able to, get it out there enough to get him in.
That's how you lose, 2-1 to the Los Angeles Angels. Padres dropped the series opener yesterday on the road, and when Manny hits a home run in the first inning, you do have that feeling like, all right, this is exactly what you've been looking for. It ended exactly 1 month to the day, May 3rd, when he hit his last home run and 100 at-bat homerless streak. And it was not a cheaper. As Jesse said, look out your Belinda, because he got all of that one. And that had to feel good for Manny Machado, who was kind of slowly been showing signs of breaking out, but hadn't really showed any slug the last couple of weeks. And then it's still in there. Oh, it's still in there because he absolutely murdered that ball.
Yeah, man, pitch up in the zone, the classic Manny Machado swing that just, boy, as soon as he hit it, I just screamed, knew it was gone. You get that. Let's start with Matt Waldron, though. What a phenomenal outing by Matt Waldron, who continues to put up really quality innings for this baseball team. And now you look at the last two losses, Benny, and you think, how did we blow the pitching performances of Michael King and Matt Waldron? Wasting opportunities like that just kills you. I mean, it just murders you. You didn't have to go to your bullpen a ton. Your starter gave you everything that you were asking for. So that one really, really stunk last night, blowing that. I think that's what I was most upset about, is plenty of opportunity to cash in runs against, let's be honest, a not great baseball team. And you had an interesting thought this morning. You and I were talking about it, and I was, kind of asking you how irrational you were. Tell everybody your philosophy on maybe the Padres' strategy last night.
So the reason why I wasn't as up in arms as others about that game is when you say you're playing a bad team and you expect to win, the reason you expect to win is bad teams generally don't execute well. That's why they're bad teams. They lose games because they're not making the plays they need to win. The Angels did make every single play that they needed to make to win the game. They didn't have a ton of opportunities. The Padres clearly, Matt Waldron was doing a great job keeping runners off the bases. He allowed just 2 hits and no walks in 6 1/3 innings. And by the way, the first hit came after it should have been a strikeout. Missed call by Dan Iasonia behind the plate. Would have been strike 3. Would have been 1 hit in 6 1/3 shutout innings for Matt Waldron, other than the ump's mistake. Now, you got to overcome those mistakes, and the next pitch was I think it was a knuckleball that just, nice piece of hitting up the middle. It's fine. But then, of course, they strung their 2 hits together in just the right spot to score a run. Padres didn't have that many hits, but they had more. I think they had 5 against Tyler Anderson. But they didn't.
6, I think.
The 6 overall.
Okay.
But they had, I think, 5 against Anderson. But they didn't string. They had the home run, and then they had other hits, but they didn't amount to anything because they weren't able to get anyone in scoring position. But my point was that the Angels executed when they had balls, when they had to, execute cutoff throws and make plays from the corner, hit a cutoff man. They did it twice to get Ha-Seong Kim at third base and to get Jurickson Profar at home. Now, you can go the other way and say, that's bad baseball by the Padres. You should just play station to station, take your double, stop at third, just wait and let the next guy get the runners in. It's not the philosophy of Mike Schilt. He's not a guy who's looking for his players to stop and play station to station baseball.
But this team has
you're
shown
you're changing your strategy if you do that.
I don't think so. I don't. The outs on the base paths are murder. They're murder. They just kill you. Ha-Seong Kim, and I tweeted it and I felt bad. I said he's the worst base runner on the planet. He's not.
He's made some mistakes.
He has run into some outs. When that play is right in front of you, it doesn't matter that Tyler Ward bobbled that ball. You're in scoring position. You don't need that extra bag there. And people were saying, well, what about the guys coming up behind him? Okay, fine. Listen, you're in scoring position.
That's when you're supposed to maybe take a chance to get to third with 1 out.
Right.
Because if you're at second with 1 out, a ground ball gets you to third, but you can't score on a sac fly.
Right.
So,
the play being in left field and right in front of him, I thought it was a really boneheaded decision. But listen, the guy plays hard, gives his all, fine. I thought it was you didn't need to. Are we the team? Because correct me if I'm wrong. We have the ability to string hits together. Yes, we've seen the San Diego Padres string many, many hits together. Death by 1,000 paper cuts has pretty much been the motto of this team, singling teams to death. Didn't look like they were getting all great contact last night, but when you give away 2 outs on the base paths, being overly aggressive, I didn't like that at all.
But didn't last year, wasn't the complaint, they just kept waiting to string hits together and
but we're doing it this
never
year.
did last year.
But we're doing it this year. Last year was last year. This year is this year. We're doing that. We're moving the next guy over and scoring him. So, listen, I thought it was a terrible send by Leaper. I thought it was a terrible send. Knowing who you got coming up in that spot, they most assuredly would have walked Manny, for sure. But then you got bases loaded, 1 out, and you got an opportunity there to have a big inning. So are we the aggressive team? Are we the pass the baton team? What are we? Who are we? The San Diego Padres. I don't think we know. I don't think they know. And running into outs on the bags against a bad team. So your philosophy of waiting for the Angels to make a mistake, I don't like that.
No, force the Angels into making a mistake.
But instead of forcing the Angels to make a mistake, go out and whip up on a team that has won 7 times at home. The killer instinct mentality is what I'm looking for from the San Diego Padres. The ability to sweep the Marlins, the ability to sweep the Royals, the ability to go into Anaheim and go, there is no effing way I'm not gonna wait for Zach Neto to botch a throw or Tyler Ward to botch a throw. I'm going to take it to you, and I just think that's kind of what I was looking for more. Aggressive, but also knowing that you're better than them, knowing that you have the ability to string 8 hits in a row together, as we saw a couple nights ago. I don't like outs on the base paths at all. I don't mind if a guy tries to get in scoring position, tries to steal a bag and gets thrown out. That's a different story entirely. When those plays are right in front of you. Jurickson Profar, I love that dude. He's had a monster season. You cannot send him there. You cannot send Ben. It looked like Ben running it home. Or me.
I was surprised that he went. Now, Mike Schilt spoke after the game. I don't know if we have the sound bite where he talks about the specific play of Jurickson being waved home, but he had at least an explanation, whether it was a strategy or just kind of an after-the-fact explanation. Mike Schilt did talk about that particular play and decision to send the runner home there and try to take the lead in the 1-1 game. We don't have that one. Well, he said basically, we knew the corners at Angel Stadium are deep. They're like 347 down the line. Other than like Coors Field, he said, really some of the deeper corners in baseball. So we thought that's a chance to make an aggressive play there.
Yeah, the play's in front of him, so it's a long. Give him credit; they executed 2 relays. It's one of the longer left and right field, depths here in Wrigley are pretty deep. Colorado's pretty deep as well, but it's pretty deep down there, 347. Longer in our ballpark. But Kimmy had the play in front of him, saw he got bobbled and took a shot at it. Took a shot to be able to score again, later in the game. So it didn't work out.
So Next Gen Breaks in the chat says, yeah, the offense sucks, gentlemen. I mean, they're leading Major League Baseball in batting average right now. They're leading. They're the number 1 batting average team in baseball. And so it's hard for me to sit in here this morning and say, yeah, the offense sucks. They didn't come through last night. There wasn't that killer instinct, and they gave away outs. They're also 5th in OBP. Slug, they're they're 12th in baseball in slug, and in OPS right now in baseball, the San Diego Padres that's on base plus slugging. They are, I reversed that one there.
Well, on the road, they're the best offensive team in baseball.
Yeah,
overall, they are the best offensive team in baseball on the road. At home, it's a different story. I don't know. Last night was kind of
OPS, they're 9th, right?
So last night was kind of a hybrid of a home and road game. Mostly Padres fans. Southern California, very close to home. I don't know. Maybe it felt more like a home game because they certainly performed offensively more like it was a home game than a road game yesterday. But, yeah, it's not fair. It's not fair to say the Padres have a bad offense. It's not fair to say they have a bad starting rotation. I mean, none of those comments would be fair if we went and railed on certain aspects of the San Diego Padres. It just wouldn't be defensible. I mean, it wouldn't, by the numbers, it wouldn't be defensible to say the Padres are. It's not even defensible to say they're a bad base running team. I went and looked it up. They are 8th in baseball in runners thrown out on the base paths. Too high, but it's not like they're the worst team in baseball at getting thrown out on the base paths. They are among the top half of baseball and taking extra bases. So, I mean, they're kind of an average base running team overall. They're just not converting them into quite enough wins.
Sure. Yeah, that's exactly right. And last night, I saw some Schilt got outmanaged. When your starting pitcher gives up 1 and your bullpen gives up 1, and you strand 6 in runner in scoring position, I'm not going to say you got outmanaged. You got out executed for sure. The one thing I kind of had a gripe with was if you're going to use Estrada in the 8th, just give him the 8th. There's no need for Morahone to throw to Joe Adell, but you kind of made some sense when you said.
I mean, in a tie game, yeah, you wonder. You might need Suarez in the 10th at some point to close out a bottom of the inning. It
makes sense.
If you're immediately going to Estrada and then Suarez, then who's pitching the rest of the game? Right. You're hoping to get Morahone, who usually throws 2 innings, to get through that clean inning. The only reason you brought Estrada in is because you had a runner at 3rd and 1 out, and you needed a strikeout. And you just felt like Estrada is the guy to get a strikeout for you in that situation. He didn't.
Yep.
He gave up a sacrifice fly for the 2nd straight game. Not the end of the world, but when you're not scoring, it's turned out to be the end of the game for the San Diego Padres. All right, we'll continue to discuss last night's game. We'll also play some Take on Woods when we come back. And again, the phone lines are open, 833-288-0973. More Ben and Woods on the way on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Need to get updated.
Talking about the base running outs and the identity of the San Diego Padres here. 833-288-0973. Had some calls come in and want to get your thoughts on last night's 2-1 loss. Certainly frustrating.
Yeah.
Certainly frustrating.
I was a little irrational.
It won't feel as bad if the Padres can come back and win the next 2 games. But I think you made a great point. Michael King and Matt Waldron both had outstanding starts. Now, you're going to have to rely on those 2 guys much more with Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove on the injured list. So you really don't want to waste those starts. Now, yeah, you hope Randy Vasquez, you hope Adam Mazur tonight going to pitch good ball games or at least give your team a chance to win. But you're going to need your actual starters to do what they just did, and then you need to convert on those opportunities because there's probably going to be some games where you don't get a great start from Randy Vasquez or Adam Mazur or whoever ends up in one of those spot starts until both of your starters are back. So it does feel like a real missed opportunity. Let's go out to the phone lines here. Let's go to Alec calling in this morning with Ben and Woods. Alec, welcome to 97.3 The Fan.
Morning, guys. How are we?
Good, buddy.
Good. I thought, Woods, you made a lot of good points about last night's game and about the team in general and their identity. And I just wanted to try and make the leap to solve the puzzle. So he had mentioned that his team was struggling with identity. Then he put the piece together that we were leading the MLB in average, which a lot of people know. And I just want to say maybe Luis Arraez, in his couple games here with the Padres, has been that identity that we're currently missing.
Yep.
He's out of the lineup right now, and we're trying to be a little aggressive on the base pass. I know Schultz said in the presser before that he likes the guys being aggressive and he wants them to make the mistakes now so that way they get sharper and later in the regular season. But, last year we had Soto, and who were we? We were the team that hit the ball out of the park all the time and almost to a fault, where it was all solo shots, and then we would get angry because, we put together 3 solo shots and we lost the game 4-3.
Yeah, 100%.
This year, we're number 1 in average with Luis Arraez. And now we see he's out, and, it looks like the team's struggling with their identity a little bit.
It's a really good call. Good point. I was so bummed last night. They had talked before the game about his injury, and look, the San Diego Padres are not the only team in baseball that are going to be cagey about injuries. No team is. No team says, "Hey, probably a separated shoulder." If I'm being honest with you, they say, "No, it's he's a little sore."
You can say that if you're putting him on an injured list.
Correct.
But if he's on the 26th man, you want to make Ron Washington
think about it.
Worry about is Luis Arraez coming up? Is he going to appear as a pinch hitter?
Yeah.
If I intentionally walk this guy, am I going to have to face Luis Arraez? So Mike Schultz smartly kept that in the back of Ron Washington's head. Now, clearly, when David Peralta came up for Kyle Higashioka as a pinch hitter, if Arraez was healthy enough to go up, he probably would have been up there in that situation.
And I saw the numbers, Strickland against Peralta, and they were terrible. 1 for whatever.
You would have gone Arraez in that situation.
All day. Peralta damn near hit one out. Hit one to the wall and just, again, game of inches, game of millimeters.
So let me add to something that Alec just said. First of all, you can't talk about last night's game without acknowledging the Padres are missing Luis Arraez and Xander Bogaerts. We're kind of used to them missing Xander Bogaerts.
Yep.
I don't know what would have happened. Maybe Arraez goes 0 for 4 in that game if he's healthy. I tend to think they would have won that game.
Me too.
If they had one more bat in the lineup, especially his bat at the top of the lineup. Profar's good at bats. Manny's home run might have been a 2-run shot in the first inning. Had Arraez been there, he would have gotten one of those runners in with one of his patented hits. They probably win that game with Luis Arraez. So injuries were a factor. As to the Arraez, absolutely changes that. The Padres say they do have an identity, and here's the exact quote from Mike Schultz after the game yesterday. He said, "I'm confident that our aggression pays off for this team. It's a mindset. We do a lot of really good things. When it doesn't work, it can sting. But, man, we can appreciate when it does. It's one of the first things I tell any team. The only thing we're going to have trouble with is if you're not aggressive, if you don't err on the side of aggression." So don't be surprised when Ha-Seong Kim gets thrown out trying to stretch a double into a triple, especially with 1 out. Don't be surprised when Tim Leeper, the third base coach, looks at a deep corner and a team that, has already bobbled a couple of balls and goes, let's make them make this double relay execution at the plate.
But being aggressive is a mindset. It is not a It's not a.
It can't be every single time.
Correct. That's the thing. Is like feel for the game, knowing Jurickson Profar is not a fast runner at all. I mean, he was meat at home plate. Knowing who's coming up behind you, all of those things. It's a state of mind, certainly, but also playing smart baseball is a state of mind. And, again, clean baseball. Running into outs on the base paths, tough for me to excuse really ever. I mean, especially the plays right in front of Leaper, right in front of Kim. It just kills your inning. And trust me, I tell the Tier 1 baseball team the exact opposite of what Mike Schilt tells the San Diego Padres. Stop being so aggressive on the base paths and getting picked off and overrunning the bag and all the things that just kill an inning and kill momentum every time. So I understand it. I understand he's going to back his guys. I thought, 2 bad plays last night, certainly. But hey, man, it's 2-1 loss. You got to rally today. You got to figure out how to go out and beat Sandoval today for them.
Another lefty.
Yeah, so
Patrick Sandoval, not one who's been nearly as effective as Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson has pitched very well this season, not just against the Padres.
Really good.
He's pitched well. He will
Could
likely
we possibly trade for him.
Yes. And by the way, this morning, and I'll go through it, Jeff Passan mentions his name in possible trade talks, at least trade deadline moves. He did a trade deadline preview already that we can talk about a little bit later. Let's open the phone lines again for a contestant for Take on Woods. Got a chance to win tickets to the Kings of Late Night at the San Diego County Fair here coming up in a couple of minutes. 833-288-0973. Call in. Frank will try to screen a couple of calls and get us a contestant here in just a minute. 833-288-0973. I also want to add that without a rise in the lineup, obviously that hurts. Jake Cronenworth has also kind of hit a bit of a skid the last week or so. He's had a couple of big hits. He had the double in the last series in Kansas City, but I looked it up. He's 4 for his last 26. And, last night he had some opportunities with runners on base, was not able to come through, just kind of hit some couple weak flies to left field, trying to go the other way. I mean, you can see that his approach isn't bad. He's just not quite locked in right now like he was earlier in the season. It shortens the lineup. When you have Arise out, you have Bogarts out, you have Cronenworth now not hitting the way he was earlier in the season. That squeezes the lineup. Even if Manny is starting to come out of it, you don't have that depth all the way to the bottom that we saw earlier in the season that was helping the Padres win some games when Tatis and Manny were struggling.
And yeah, I mean, Jackson Merrill's come down to earth a little bit. It's time though. There needs to be that shift. The bottom carried this team, man. It needs to come back to sea level a little bit. And if that happens, that's fine. I mean, that's absolutely fine. Manny, Tatis, those guys, they need to mash, and they need to mash left-handed pitchers last night. I think the most upset I got last night was somebody tweeted me that Tatis should have been bunting there after the double from Profar. And tell you this, man, if I ever see Fernando Tatis Jr. sacrifice bunt, I may be done with baseball. And he may be done with baseball. There's no, I'll get this on record. He should never sacrifice. Do we all in agreement on that?
Yes.
Never. Never, ever. There's no...
Especially when he's pretty locked in at the plate 100%. Right now.
And especially when he has the ability, he's one of 3 guys on the team maybe that has the ability to hit the ball out of the ballpark and hit a gap and end up standing on third with ease. I don't want him giving away outs. Tyler Wade, yeah, drop one down. Kyle Higashioka, 100%. Do what you got to do. Fernando Tatis Jr. should never bunt. Never. Unless he's bunting for a hit, right? But he should never sacrifice bunt. I didn't know how to have to say that today. It hurts my heart to actually have to say it.
You could even argue that he shouldn't be bunting for a hit.
Correct.
I mean, yes, there's probably some situations where the third baseman is way back and he's going like, I could put down a mediocre bunt and easily reach first. And you can make the argument, okay, then it's worth it. But realize if they're playing that back, it's probably because they'd rather see Fernando bunting than swinging away
100%,
if they're the other team.
100%.
Don't do what the other team wants you to do. And if the other team is going to be happy that you're bunting, and they would have been happy, then don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're going to give you that, I mean, seriously. No, he's a guy that needs to hit the ball out of the ballpark.
All right, we'll come back to Padres talk in a couple of minutes. Right now, though, let's get to today's game. It's time for Take on Woods.
It's time for Take on Woods.
Take on Woods. Woods.
Take on Woods, brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. It only takes 15 minutes, and you don't have to get out of your car. For directions and discounts, go to SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com. We got Wilkie in Claremont. Woods walked out of the studio. He goes, Wilkie, is that my boy, Wilkinson?
It is.
Oh.
It is his boy. I'm a Tier 1 baseball player.
Outstanding. All right, we got Tier 1 on Tier 1 crime today for Take on Woods and a chance to win tickets to the San Diego County Fair's Kings of Late Night on June 21st, featuring Jay Leno, Craig Ferguson, and Arsenio Hall. Tickets are on sale now at sdfair.com. This is an instant win if you can beat or tie Woods. So here are your categories. We got It's Not False. You'll have to figure that out as you go, but it's pretty simple. Ooh, I know this one. Those are 5 bands with double O's in their name. And we got Beatles in 2 words. Those are 2-word Beatles song titles. So It's Not False, Ooh, I know this one, or Beatles in 2 words. Wilkie?
That'll be Beatles.
Beatles. All right, he's going with the Beatles category. And by the way, this category was submitted by another Tier 1 Janice, who emailed me last week and said she has actually tied Woods twice and beaten him once. And she wanted to apologize to Paul for the category since we know he doesn't like the Beatles. Paul's not here today, though, so perfect day for Beatles in 2 words. So all 5 of today's answers are 2-word Beatles song titles. You'll have 60 seconds. Get as many as you can. Pass if you don't know an answer. We can come back to it. And, of course, our second question is our 2-second song. You know it's the Beatles, so you just need to give me the title of the Beatles song to score that point. And remember, all 2 words. So, Wilkie, you ready to go?
Ready to roll.
Frankie, you ready? All right, 60 seconds on the clock. Category Beatles in 2 words. Your time begins when Frankie plays the song. Good luck, Wilkie. Let's take on Woods.
Come Together.
Correct. JoJo is the main character in which Beatles song that also...
Get Back.
Correct. Ringo Starr sings which whimsical underwater Beatles track that became a favorite for children?
Octopus's Garden.
Oh, incorrect. Which
Octopus's Garden. That was.
That's incorrect. Which Beatles song features a plea from a hopeful author hoping to get his book published?
Paperback Writer.
Correct. Paul McCartney originally chose Daisy Hawkins as the protagonist before changing to which name in a song about all the lonely people?
Eleanor Rigby.
I wonder if the Yellow Submarine is going to trip you up there, Wilkie, because
that is going to trip me up.
That was the one, and we'll see if it's enough because your score of 4 is good. But this is Woods we're talking about, and that might be the difference in today's game. So let's bring Woodsy back in. You got the other ones. Come Together, Get Back, Paperback Writer, and Eleanor Rigby. So hang on the line. Let's put them back on hold, and we'll see how Woodsy does. Doesn't get the category, but don't know how much of a difference that's going to make today. All right, 60 seconds back on the clock. Your time begins when Frank plays the music. Good luck, Woods. Let's take on your buddy, Wilkie.
Wilkie. Let's Come Together by the Beatles.
Correct. JoJo is the main character in which Beatles song that
Get Back.
Correct. Ringo Starr sings which whimsical underwater Beatles track that became a favorite for
Yellow
children?
Submarine.
Correct. Which Beatles song features a plea from a hopeful author hoping to get his book published?
That is Paperback Writer.
Correct. Paul McCartney originally chose Daisy Hawkins as the protagonist before changing the name to which name in a song about all the lonely people?
Oh, Eleanor Rigby.
Oh, and that is the difference. Wilkie said Octopus's Garden.
No,
instead of Yellow
Wilkie!
Submarine, and that was the difference.
That's
in
my
2-word Beatles titles.
That's my Tier 1, Wilkie.
Yeah, that
He's
was.
on our baseball squad.
Yeah.
Sweet Angel. He owns a record store.
You want to bring him back
Yeah,
on here?
put him on.
Yeah, Wilkie, you're back on the air here.
I will.
Oh, man. Woodsy, man, that tripped me up. I answered too quickly.
You did.
It happens,
Sometimes
man.
you do that as well. But,
I do.
Yeah, and Tier 1 Janice came up with that category for us as well.
Oh, killer.
So
I love
just,
that.
Tier 1's all around
Hey,
there.
Benny.
Yeah.
Hey, Benny. I want to invite you out and the rest of the Tier 1s to one of our games. We're in first place, and we're heading to the playoffs. We'd
That's
love
right.
to see everybody out there 9 a.m. this Sunday.
Look at you.
I
love
appreciate
Wilkie.
that. I might be able to make it out.
Wilkie, what's the name of your record store, too?
Called Roy's Retro Vinyl down by the sports arena.
That's my man, Wilkie.
Wow.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
See you
bro.
soon. Take care.
It's like Almost Famous come to life here.
Yeah. Yeah, he's you did need to come out to a game. We'll wait till playoffs.
You're definitely locked in for the postseason.
Yeah.
After sweeping your doubleheader,
Yeah, we won 4 straight.
you're moving up in the standings.
Mhm. 4 straight, first place.
Nice.
Yeah, they're coming for us.
Oh, you got a target on your back?
Always.
Oh, come on. You were on the team. You always had the biggest target on your back
Fair
as
enough.
soon as you joined the league.
Correct.
All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back with Don't Do This.
We got breaking news in the world of Major League Baseball about some gambling suspensions, and they have come down. And there are other players named, Benjamin. You seen this yet?
I just saw in the chat that there's another familiar name.
Oh, yeah.
We heard about Tucapito Marcano yesterday. We were going to talk about him at the bottom of the hour, but another familiar name in there. That is coming up next with Bennett Woods after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
The timing.
Now, rarely do we have breaking news for Don't Do This, but that's going to be the focus of our segment today. Don't Do This brought to you by the Craft Taco in Sereno Valley. Craft Taco has some of the best quality tacos in all of San Diego. Go to thecrafttaco.com and take a look at their happy hour specials today, thecrafttaco.com. Now, you probably saw the news yesterday about Tucupita Marcano facing a potential lifetime ban from baseball for betting on games last year when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates and on their injured list. Of course, the Padres picked him up on a waiver claim, and he's been on their injured list all season long. So, technically, Padres infielder Tucupita Marcano, which is what all the headlines said. It was a little misleading yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
When they said, Padres, Tucupita Marcano, banning for life for baseball. And go, all right, you don't have to necessarily put the Padres. But in that story, there was also word that 4 minor league players were also facing suspensions. And Major League Baseball has announced officially now the following suspensions for unrelated violations of MLB's sports betting policy. So all of these individual different stories, all of them. Padres infielder, outfielder, Tucupita Marcano, permanently ineligible, banned for life.
Banned for life.
A's right-handed pitcher Michael Kelly, 1-year suspension. Phillies infielder Jose Rodriguez, 1-year suspension. Diamondbacks left-handed pitcher Andrew Saalfrank, 1-year suspension. And Padres left-handed pitcher Jay Groom, 1-year suspension. Groom, of course, the pitcher they got from the Boston Red Sox in the Eric Hosmer trade. He has also been popped for 1 year, and I see a lot of questions. Why 1 year for the minor league guys and the permanent ban for Tucupita Marcano? The difference is Marcano bet on his own team, and he may have bet against his own team as well, according to some of the details here, Woods. And the Marcano details are actually fascinating to me. Here's what Major League Baseball released.
That's one word for it.
Betting data shows that from October 16th, 2022, through October 23rd, 2022, and then from July 12th, 2023 through November 1st, 2023, Marcano placed 387 baseball bets, including 231 MLB-related bets, among other bets on international baseball games through a legal sports book.
Okay.
Marcano's MLB bets were generally parlays, which would sometimes include multiple MLB-related legs, and they would sometimes include MLB-related legs and non-MLB legs. In total, Marcano bet more than $150,000 on baseball, with $87,319 of that on MLB-related bets, an average of approximately $378 per bet. Of the over 200 MLB bets Marcano placed, 25 of those bets included Pirates games while he was assigned to the Pirates Major League Club. Marcano did not appear in any of the games in which he placed bets, however, because all of Marcano's Pirates-related bets and the vast majority of his bets overall occurred during the period after he suffered a season-ending knee injury on July 24th. Now, here's the last details.
This is unreal.
Consistent with Marcano's overall baseball betting activity, almost all of Marcano's Pirates bets were on which club, the Pirates or their opponent, would win the game, or whether there would be more or less than a certain number of runs scored in the game. So the over-under. Ultimately, Marcano lost all of his parlays involving the Pirates and only won 4.3% of all of his MLB-related bets overall.
My 6-year-old could pick better than 4.3% of winners. Someone throwing darts at a board
should be able to pick. I mean, unless you're only doing like 8-leg parlays.
Correct.
That is an incredibly bad winning percentage. For any gambler.
God.
Not that it matters now.
All right, so give me the details again on why it's a year for some.
So if you bet on sports but not on your own team, that's a 1-year suspension. If you bet on your own team or against your own team, that's a lifetime ban. That's the Pete Rose.
So they can bet on. Can Jay Groom bet? He can bet on sports though, just not baseball.
I believe that is legal. Yes.
But
if you want to bet on
But
football.
he did bet on baseball, just not his own team.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Basically, I'm not trying to be mean here, but that clears 2 spots off the 40-man right now in Tucupita Marcano and Jay Groom. Adam Major. There you go. There's one. Who's next? It's business, right? Look, these guys know the rules. They know the rules.
Silver lining in everything.
I see a lot of people going and blaming the proliferation of legalized sports betting for this. And I heard I heard a great argument yesterday. I think it was with Matt Snyder on Gwen and Chris, but if I'm mistaken, they said, kind of like steroid testing, when people got popped, especially in the early days of steroid testing, it's not a sign that more people are doing it. It's a sign they're actually catching. The system works, that they're actually catching people who are doing this. You can't tell me that people weren't betting on baseball in the past, but now maybe they are a little bit with the technology, a little bit more savvy in terms of catching a couple of players doing this. Also, I mean, they know the rules.
Bro, it's hammered into them.
If you're saying that the legal gambling has made the temptation too great, that these guys can't make the correct decision, I don't know what to say. I feel bad if someone has a gambling addiction. That is obviously a real problem and a real thing, and they should be able to get some help. But this is this is 101. This is really simple level stuff. Don't bet. Don't bet on baseball if you're a baseball player, and especially don't be betting on or against your own team. It's not the legalization of sports gambling that caused Tucupita Marcano to start betting on or against the Pirates. It was stupidity. Sheer stupidity. And he's paying the price, the biggest price in baseball.
Why are Dodger fans taking their pants off right now over the fact that by the way, Jay Groom, okay, not Manny Machado, not Fernando Tatis Jr., Jay Groom and Pirate Tucupita, they're tweeting at me.
I never expected either to play for the Padres at any
Honestly,
point ever again, probably.
So I'll say this as a Padres fan. Throw the book at them. Will you say the same? I will throw the book. How about this investigation that went on for months? How long did the Ohtani investigation take? 15 minutes? Came out on Wednesday, cleared by what? Friday? Like, looks good. It's fine. $16 million or however. How many millions of dollars?
16?
Yeah. I mean, look, throw the book. If they're guilty, throw the book at them. I don't care who it is. They all know the rules. There's signs in every clubhouse. This is like, here's the thing that drives me nuts. This is like the one rule they enforce. There's one rule they enforce. The rest is like, there's gray area. There's, all right, you get a little suspension for this, that. You did this to your wife? Okay, like, come on back in a few months. This is the one rule. They're like, dummy, you cannot do this. You cannot do it. You cannot be adjacent to it. How do you get popped for this? Even I, a notorious rule breaker, if Adam said, I have one rule, we have one rule. Like, I can't say the F word on the radio. I can't say it. I know that. That's why I don't. That's why I don't. Throw the book at them. Whatever it has to happen. Because you have to be the dumbest guy alive. And it doesn't, in my opinion, like, let's take responsibility for our actions, right? And it's not DraftKings' fault. It's not the proliferation of gambling. Yes, it's everywhere. Yes, it's annoying. You're a grown man. You made a decision, and now you pay the consequences for it. And there's signs everywhere you go. It's at fantasy camp. When I walk in the clubhouse, I know exactly where it is. It's like their one rule.
Now, if you want some comparison, I see from Bill Shaken. So the A's pitcher, Michael Kelly, who was suspended for a year, bet a total of $99.22 on baseball. Andrew Salfrank, who was, by the way, did appear in the World Series. He bet $445.87 total.
One guy bet $99.
Tucupita Marcano bet $150,000.
Bro, you want to talk about the risk and the reward? $99 is what you bet, and now you got to sit for a year for a $99. I'm saying that's.
Did he think? Okay, if I keep it under $100, MLB won't care. Like
bit.
It'll fly under the radar.
That bit. Yeah, let's do 99.46 on the Pirates to lose tonight.
Let's take a timeout. That was a breaking edition, a news edition of Don't Do This.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3
I'm going to ask
The
the
Fan.
question, if you want to react to this, if you feel like this is a deeper problem, is there any criticism that should be leveled at the Padres? Technically, 2 of the 5 players suspended today are part of the Padres organization.
No.
Now, fair, but let's at least have the discussion rationally and talk about this. When we come back, 833-288-0973 if you want to join us, talking about the Major League Baseball gambling suspensions with Ben and Woods here on 97.3 The Fan. So you're hearing from Dodgers fans.
Oh, of course, because I took some shots at Shohei's expense. I also defended him if he didn't do anything wrong.
And it's absolutely fair to question the individual player. The Dodgers organization didn't have anything to do with that.
100%.
All of the Ipe Mizuhara stuff happened while Shohei was a member of the Angels. Yeah. If you want to look into where the Angels,
they were David Fletcher.
Yeah, not had their heads turned the wrong way, but I can see how this is going, and there's going to be a lot of hand wringing, especially when you look at all the headlines of what's going on right now. Every single headline in the national media has the word Padres in it right now.
Who would care? I don't care about. I don't care about them, but it's not. Jay Groom and Tucupita Marcano, they don't move any needles.
Well, and it's beyond that, and I'm going to explain. We're going to check traffic, and I just want to make sure that everyone understands what we're talking about here on this story, because it's what the players did, Tucupita Marcano and Jay Groom, both absolutely idiotic and deserving of suspensions. But the Padres are kind of getting painted with a brush here that is not fair in the least bit, and I'll explain why after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. And if you have a different take on this, I'm certainly happy to listen to it. And if you want to call, you can. 833-288-0973. 5 players banned from baseball, 4 for a year in the minor leagues, including Padres minor league pitcher Jay Groom and Tucupita Marcano, who gets a lifetime ban for betting on baseball. We're talking about that this morning. However, I know what's going to happen, and it'll be me, it'll be other reporters. They're going to go in and they're going to go, we need to cover this. The Padres. Go ask questions of the Padres.
Right.
Players and coaches and front office and what's going on here. We need to get to the bottom of this story and how the Padres are involved, because every headline says Padres infielder Tucupita Marcano banned for life. Padres league pitcher Jay Groom suspended for 1 year. What's going on in this Padres organization? But according to this MLB investigation, and I just had this confirmed as well, none of the bets are said to have taken place while either player was with the Padres. Even Jay Groom. The Marcano, as reported, happened while he was with the Pirates and on the Pirates injured list over the last 2 years. Jay Groom's bets happened long ago when he was with the Boston Red Sox, not in the San Diego Padres organization.
My question to you is, why do you care? Because I don't care. This isn't Shohei Ohtani. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're not of the caliber of, and again, that had nothing to do with the Dodgers. Like you said, it all happened when he and Ipe were with the Angels. Yeah?
Correct.
So you cannot indict an unless an organization is actively trying to get signups for their players at spring training, which would be moronic. Hey, did you guys sign up to the DraftKings? Use the promo code Padres or Brown for the faithful, and you get a $100 discount. No,
I just don't think there's, like, if I had AJ Preller sitting in the studio right now, I wouldn't have a question to ask him about this story.
No.
He doesn't have anything to do with it.
Correct. Nor would Dave
Roberts
nor do the Boston Red Sox, nor do the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Not really.
I mean, they have, again, these are guys doing things of their own free will and their own volition. Ben, they're grown men. And I do get a little tired of always going, well, obviously they're gambling because of DraftKings or because of whatever. Like, I like to play some bets on some games. I gamble with my head, not over it. Okay? Not everybody has that ability to. And I understand that. It's as bad a vice as drinking, smoking, chewing tobacco, driving too fast. Again, if I'm driving too fast, it's not because I watched Formula One over the weekend. It's because I put my foot down and I drove too fast.
Okay, that's a good analogy, because I will say that this is the one area where, if you want to criticize the legalization of gambling, if it was legal for everybody else to drive 80 on the freeway, but you were told by your employer, if you go over 65,
Get a
fired.
ticket, you're fired.
Right.
Right.
Which happens. Delivery drivers, you see the stickers.
Man.
You know, this
If
car
I'm driving
is monitored by
Yes.
GPS, whatever, and they get in more trouble if they go faster than the rest of the people on the freeway. That would make it a little bit harder, knowing I'm not really breaking any laws. It's just, and it's very easy to do, and it's fun, but I'm not supposed to do it because of my employer. I think that's kind of the comparison we're making right here.
100%. I mean, again, I think there is a severe lack of accountability in a lot of different arenas in America. A lot. And I do think if you screw up, you did it. Nobody did that for you. Nobody made you place those bets. I understand. Hey, look, when all of these sites, BetQL, and they're advertising. They're doing their advertising. If you go to McDonald's every single day or another fast food place and you eat it every single day, because whose fault is it? It's not their fault for advertising their food. It's your fault. Wear it a little bit. Where the accountability? I screwed up. I placed illegal bets. I just got to sit for a year. I just derailed my career by a year. Again, Saul Frank pitched in the World Series. That's so dumb and short-sighted to me. Like, you have this. What is the payoff for you? Is it and I'll go a step further. I told you guys this at the break. There is something in my mind that actually understands a pitcher going, God, man, I'm not spinning my breaking ball. I'm gonna try a little bit of this here on my wrist, see if I can get a little. I understand that. You're looking for a competitive edge. These are those rules that you shouldn't break because, well, these are the consequences that you have to face. And by the way, if I put a little sticky stuff on my wrist and I get popped, guess what I know I got coming? 10 games. And I got to go, I did it. That was me. Tried to get a little better grip. These balls are like cue balls, and I need a little bit of extra grip. I wear it. I'll take my 10 games. I let my team down. Just be accountable for your actions. It has nothing to do with how much advertising somebody does.
Do you think it's hypocritical of Major League Baseball to accept money from gambling sites, advertisers?
No, because I don't.
I don't either. I don't either.
Because I feel like, again, the rules are so very clear and they're so beaten into these guys' head that if you screw up, it's on you. Do not enter. Do not enter. Do not enter.
By the way, I strongly believe, whether or not you're into gambling or not, I strongly believe that we should be allowed to do it as, private citizens.
Sure.
I think it should be something that if you can do responsibly, you should be legally allowed to do it.
Sure. If I see,
if we just banned it completely, would it help prevent some people who are addicted to gambling from gambling? Maybe a few.
No.
If we prevented alcohol, went back to prohibition, would that stop some people from? It might stop some people from drinking. If it wasn't available, if you couldn't go to the bar and just order a cocktail, it would keep some, people who have drinking problems from probably drinking as much.
No.
But I'm not advocating for that. I'm advocating we should have the freedom,
you make your own
for
decision,
the most part, to choose our own decisions.
And you face the consequences
face the consequences if there are.
If I am at the San Diego Zoo and there are signs everywhere that say keep out, keep out, keep out, keep out, keep out, keep out, and I jump into the lion's den and they rip me to shreds, is it the lion's fault? Is it the zoo's fault? It's my fault. But the signs are very clear. Do not do this. You cannot do this. If you do this, you're facing a lifetime ban. If there was something in my career or your career listening where they said, buddy, if you do this, you could be banned for life, and you do it anyway, it is not on anybody else but you. Be responsible for your mistakes.
This is until you find evidence of someone throwing a game.
Yeah, dude,
and then that becomes a Major League Baseball problem. That definitely, then it becomes a problem for the sport. But none of that has been accused here. By the way, here are the details for Jay Grooms, why he got suspended for 1 year. Betting data shows that from July 22nd, 2020 through July 24th, 2021, Groom placed 32 MLB-related bets. Of those, 24 bets involved the Red Sox, Major League club, of which Groom was placed while he was assigned to the Red Sox High A affiliate in Greenville, South Carolina. All of the bets were on the final outcome of the game, a total of $453.74 over 1 year, mostly betting Red Sox games while he was a single-A player for the Red Sox in 2020 and 2021, 2 years before he joined the San Diego Padres organization.
And again, it's my main problem with the whole Ipe situation. The inside knowledge of that dude had on that organization, the Angels, I mean, you kill for that. And you love gambling that much, and you want to place bets that much, and you only bet soccer, and you only bet, other sports that didn't have to do with it. That's always been my number one thing is like, but it goes to show you, Tucupita Marcano and Jay Groom, Tucupita Marcano especially, he had all the inside information in the world. He won 4% of his bets. 4%. So I don't know how much it actually helps, but I just, again, I'm not blaming the leagues for having, Wrigley Field has a sports book there. You know what I mean? But you know who shouldn't be in there? Imanaga should not be in there. And Craig Counsell should not be in there placing bets on baseball. And that's fine. Those are the rules. If they are in there, they know the consequences. Just wear it. Like, you made a mistake.
Speaking of sports books at the stadium, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but when the Mets were in Cincinnati, they showed a video of the Pete Rose statue.
Yeah.
And I think it was either Gary Cohen or Keith Hernandez that pointed it out. The direction in which Pete Rose is sliding.
Yeah.
Right across the street from a sports book.
From a sports book. Yeah, 100%. It is, it's something, Ben, that's a whole different can of worms is Tucupita Marcano bet on games. Who was the basketball player that just got popped? And he was actually taking himself out of games to affect his over-under points, rebounds. That is dastardly. That is 100%. But, I'm not saying that this isn't. They absolutely should throw the book at these guys. But when you talk about point shaving, run shaving, throwing games, bro, that's a different animal entirely.
Jonte Porter,
yeah. And I read those stories. I'm like, this guy pulled himself in the first quarter after betting over under 3 rebounds or something. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Brandon makes an interesting point that Groom's bets, I gave you the dates, 2020 to 2021. In 2020, obviously, he wasn't even playing baseball because of the pandemic. They came back in the minor league season early in 2021, and it sounds like soon after he returned, he stopped betting on games, but he was doing it kind of during the pandemic when there was nothing else to do. Not that excuses it. It's still against the rules, but at least he didn't continue to do that. And hopefully guys like that, learn their lesson, serve their 1-year suspension, and can come back and have an opportunity to play baseball again in the future. Now, I don't know that he'll ever get to the big leagues again or was ever going to get to the big leagues again. But, am I seeing anything? Am I missing anything here? This just doesn't feel like it's not a Padres story or
It's not a Red Sox story. It's not a Diamondback story. It's a personal responsibility. Satan's Blowfish says, we've already had a World Series thrown, by the White Sox in 1918. 1919? That's the kind of stuff that can't happen. But again, I don't know that that's going to happen because of some heavies from DraftKings coming down and asking the Rangers to throw a World Series. I mean, I guess anything's possible, but I don't think that element gets out of baseball if you didn't take DraftKings money. Their element's always going to be there. It's always been there. Always. It's always been there. So I don't blame baseball for this. I blame the players involved. Always. They did it.
I just don't think there's any other argument.
Right. I can't see another argument.
I'm willing to listen if I'm missing something. But I don't think there's anyone's feet to hold to the fire other than the individual players, and they are suffering the consequences. Their feet are being held to the worst fire, especially for Tucupita Marcano.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the biggest headline in sports this morning. We can talk more about the game and the struggles on offense last night with your Padres coming up in the second half of Ben and Woods. Don't go away. More ahead on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we're halfway home on a Tuesday. Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. Great to be here with you. Good discussions this morning. I really enjoyed the Ben and Woods program. I know I'm partial to it, but there are Ben and Woods programs I don't enjoy.
There are. You're very honest about it after the show.
I am like, God, it was terrible. We suck. Today, I feel, has been a pretty good day. Coming off a crap loss last night, certainly. 2-1 to the Angels. Going to be joined by Jesse Agler, the GOAT, at 8:35. Love that man so much. And 9:35, we'll be joined by Kevin Charity from Mad Friars. Get a little Major talk. See what that kid is all about and what to expect from him tonight as he makes his Major League debut against the Los Angeles Angels. I'm excited to see him throw. I've heard nothing but good things, and, of course, that means absolutely nothing. As soon as you toe the slab at the big league level, we'll see what happens. But I'm excited to watch him pitch. Of course, I was excited to watch Joey Lucchesi pitch when he made his debut.
Which I believe was a fantastic debut,
It was.
right? Yeah.
My first day in the press box ever, and I just felt like I had arrived. I'm Woodsy. That is Italian Paul. Frank Marchese is filling in for Paul Reindl, who's in Vegas. Benjamin Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor, joins us as well. Italian Paul, I told this story yesterday. He texted me a couple weeks ago, Benny, and he goes, well, this was weird. I just got stopped and recognized at Petco, but they called me Italian Paul. And I said, oh, no, have I ruined this guy's, the beginning of this guy's career? Let me get your honest, I need you to lay on the couch in here, and I'll be your therapist. Of course, I'll also be the person that
just went to one yesterday, so I got practice.
Okay, good. Good. I'm also a therapy fan, Italian Paul.
I went for a different reason.
Oh, okay. Okay. You don't have to get into it if you don't want to.
No, I'm getting bariatric surgery, and that was one of the prerequisites for it.
Different type.
Yeah.
All right, so when you got recognized at Petco Park, and how did it go down?
I was sitting in the press box filling out my scorecard.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, off to my right, I hear, yo, Italian Paul. I look over, I'm like, hi.
Somebody waved to you. What's up, Italian Paul?
Yeah.
So it had to feel good.
Felt odd.
It felt odd.
Yes, it felt odd.
Would it have been better for you had they said, hey, Frank Marchese, what's up, buddy?
No, that still would have been odd.
Okay, all right. That's all I wanted to know. I didn't want to pigeonhole you with this Italian Paul bit. Like I started calling Adam yesterday. Adam is now Bald Reindl. When he fills in for Paul, he's no longer Adam, he's Bald Reindl. And you are Italian Paul because you're Italian. And so that's it. So everybody that fills in is some iteration of Paul. That's what we do. So,
a variation.
Yeah, variation is what I meant.
What's Paul's middle name? Because that one's going to be the next
Paul
one.
Thomas.
Okay,
Paul
so
Thomas Reindl.
P.T. Reindl.
P.T. Reindl. All right, good. So you don't mind being called Italian Paul?
No.
Okay, good.
What's your middle name, Frank?
Donald.
Donald.
My great-grandfather's name.
Frank Donald Marchese. Italian Paul. I love it. So good. You're not mad at me for calling you
No,
Italian.
not at all. Like
Because I didn't want to stick somebody with a nickname they don't want.
No, like I said, it felt, that was the first time that's ever happened. And it was just, it felt so weird. Like, who is calling me?
Yeah, it's great. Well, wait till we launch our Italian Paul shirt merch line.
Oh,
That's
no.
going to go off. It's going to fly off the shelves.
I need to be a part of the approval process on that.
I've told this story before, but when I first started at Channel 10 many years ago, you wonder, will you start to get recognized around town? Oh, yeah, you're a sports guy on TV, right? Channel 10, right? Oh, good to see you. And it did start happening a couple of times. And I remember I was at I think it was at Target at the checkout stand. And the woman who was checking me out in line, the cashier, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Goes,
Thanks for clarifying.
You look so familiar. I know you from somewhere, right? And I said, yeah, you've seen me on television. I do the sports on Channel 10. And she goes, no, that's not it.
Guy got me Petco a few weeks ago.
So now, ever since that moment, if someone says, you look so familiar, where do I know you?
You don't.
I don't say anything. Yeah. I just go, maybe, I don't know. If you can think of it, it's all on you. If you can't, I'm not leading you to water if you're not going to drink it.
It happened the other day. A couple weeks ago, I was at the game with the kids, and the guy, yeah, hell yeah, Ben. I roll with it at this point. I just go, hey, how you doing, man? Playing ball the other day, got to second base, and the shortstop goes, hey, man, you're on the radio, right? I go, yeah. And he goes, are you Ben or Woods? I go, I'm Woodsy. And he said, oh, dude, nice to meet you. When did you start playing in this league? I said, 2010. He goes, oh, I was 5 years old. I said, yeah, maybe I shouldn't be out here with you youngsters. But no, good. Italian Paul, I wanted to make sure that you were cool with that. I didn't want to just saddle that.
Yeah, I was fine. And if you guys do recognize me, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying I'm going to feel a little weird about it because I'm not used to it. That's it.
All right, good. If you see Italian Paul, say hello, give him a big hug. He likes that. Just like Benjamin.
Yes, that's exactly what I said.
All right, you're deep in thought over there to my left.
I'm not deep in thought at all. In fact, I have very few thoughts running through my head at the moment, which is actually worrying me. Because the show still has almost 2 hours
Yeah, we're
left.
good.
So I don't have a ton of thoughts right now in my head. We talked about the game last night. I didn't panic because I didn't feel like I knew with Luis Ariz out and Tyler Anderson, a tough lefty on the mound, it just was not going to be an easy game for the Padres to win. I thought they had a chance, certainly, but I wasn't expecting a 7-1 just route just because the Angels
I wasn't expecting a route. I expected a win, though. I expected a win.
I just thought that this is a troublesome game with no Ariz and facing Tyler Anderson. This is going to be problematic. So
Sounds like alibis to me.
Well, it just went the way I kind of expected it to.
God, I couldn't disagree more.
I hoped that they would come up with a big hit or two and pull out a win. Certainly, they could have. There was no reason they could have or shouldn't have. But it wasn't a game like 10. You got to win that 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. To me, that was a 5 or 6 out of 10 type game, which means the other team's going to win it 4 or 5 times as well.
No. That's an 8 out of 10. You got to win that game.
No.
Yes.
No.
They had 7 wins at home.
Going against
7. They lost 5 in a row
against a pitcher with a 2-something ERA.
Bro, come on.
That's not an 8 out of 10 game.
It is.
That is not.
It is.
If that's an 8 out of 10 game,
they have a team full of guys that are DFA. They can't even field a roster right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's a team you need to beat the crap out of. Just pummel.
But that's not how baseball works.
I understand it.
Yes, they held them to 2 runs. They held a bad lineup to 2 runs. You are going to win that game most of the time. The problem is that if the other player on the team is a good pitcher that you're not matching up well against, it doesn't really matter who the rest of the players are on the team. A good pitcher can equalize the playing field in baseball. And last night, the playing field got equalized by Tyler Anderson.
Oh, my God. We're tipping our cap to Tyler Anderson. I guess.
Kevin points it out. He's their number 1 starter against the Padres' number 5 starter.
Yeah, I mean, our number 5 starter pitched his ass off last night.
He did. He absolutely, and he's been throwing well. And
yes,
right,
I'll go 7 out of 10.
The Padres should be able to score 3 runs, but they didn't. They didn't come through with any hits with runners in scoring position. It's how you lose a game like that. I don't think it's really cause for concern or.
I'm not concerned. I'm pissed. I'm not concerned at all. Like, I'm ready for tonight.
Were you more mad about the Marlins loss?
Always. I'm always going to be more mad.
Yesterday's loss.
But again, they're not that dissimilar. They're really not. I mean, I know the score was different. You gave up more runs. They're not that dissimilar. When the offense starts stranding a bunch of guys that get on base, making mistakes, not playing clean baseball, it's kind of like. It didn't feel to me as give-uppy, but it was also like, guys, we're talking, get a lazy fly ball here. Be smart on the base pass, and you win that game probably going away.
Let's say you played 10 games in a row against the Angels, Padres Angels. How many should they win?
7.
7,
yeah.
right.
7, 8.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Which means you're still going to lose like 3 of those, which means out of every 3, you're probably going to lose 1 of those.
There's no team in baseball that you say we can beat 10 straight games. You know what I mean? It's very, very difficult to do. Hell, even as we know very well as Padres fans, it's proven impossible to beat a team 3 straight times. So, you got to take the good with the bad. But again, you don't want to dig yourself in a hole in a winnable game where you made mistakes on the base pass, waiting for them to make a mistake. Be aggressive. Be aggressive.
You wanted them not to be aggressive.
No, be smart. Be smart with your ABs. Be better than them. You are better than them. They had won 7 times at home. I understand Tyler Anderson. He's also gotten really lucky this year. Really, really lucky. He's one of those guys. Doesn't throw hard, doesn't overpower you. The changeup was nasty early. You got to him in the first inning, and then bad base running murdered you last night. Murdered you. So waiting for another team to make a mistake because they're a bad team is not the right way to go. Exert your will. Enforce your dominance over a team like the Angels, who is made up of a bunch of guys that were DFA'd. That's it. That's all I'm saying. No Mike Trout. None of their big players. No Rendon. You got to beat these teams, man. You do. We say it like a mantra every single year. Stop playing down to teams like the Angels and the Rockies.
I think what worries me the most is now you've got 2 more games,
and if you got a rookie, and you got a rookie on the bump today.
And if you do lose one of these 2, then you've really missed an opportunity.
100%.
I'm not going to complain. To sound like Mike Schilt here, I'm not going to complain about a series win.
I'm definitely not either.
But
I'm
if you
complain
lose 2
about
out
last
of 3,
night's win.
that's a missed opportunity against the Angels, obviously, and you would have rather had that first game of the series. But you didn't get it. Now, there were some positives. Obviously, Matt Waldron was the number one positive. Over his last 5 starts now, Waldron has a 1.74, I think, or 1.84 ERA. He has found something, and I don't think it's just a mirage. I know he's going to have a bad start at some point. All pitchers do. But I do feel like with Matt Waldron, he's not the same pitcher that he was last year, or even in spring training this year, or even in the first month of the season. He's throwing the knuckleball harder. It's getting better results. That also makes his other pitches a little bit more effective. He's never going to be a dominant Cy Young type performer.
No.
But he is now, to me, a guy that I think the Padres, if he stays healthy, can count on in their starting rotation to give them a chance to win pretty much every 5th day.
Yep.
He's not the guy, I don't think, that we saw early in the season that every 3rd start he's going to give up 4 or 5 in the first 2 innings. I think he's better than that now.
Yeah.
I think he's a better pitcher than that now. And the Padres were patient and found something with Matt Waldron. Good job all around. Good job by Matt. Good job by the coaching staff, Ruben Niebla, and the work that they've put in with this guy. They have a better player now than they did a few months ago.
Yeah, there was a lot of people. I think you could. We said on the roundtable maybe a month ago, hey, who should the 5th starter be? And should it be Matt Waldron? I think my quote was, if you have to keep asking every week who your 5th starter is, you probably don't have a 5th starter. I'll wear that one because he has been nothing short of outstanding. And you need to win those starts when your 5 goes out and pitches as well as he did last night. Yeah, man, you're a better team than them. You need to win those games.
So the Padres still need some pitching help, though. And it's not because Matt Waldron hasn't done the job.
No.
It's because of
2 guys
the
out.
injuries and 2 guys out of the starting lineup. So when we come back, I want to talk about the new rumors thrown out. Jeff Passan came out with his trade deadline preview, even though we're still almost 2 months away. Which teams are sellers? Which teams could be buyers? Where the Padres fit in potentially going into the next couple of months, and who could be guys that they are targeting. We'll get to that coming up after a check of traffic with more Ben and Woods here on 97.3 The Fan. It's never too early to start talking about the trade deadline, especially when A.J. Preller is your general manager.
Sure.
He's already made a giant move this season, and the odds are, at least based on the people who know, they're expecting A.J. to do more before the trade deadline. Jeff Passan of ESPN came out with his early 2024 MLB trade deadline preview this morning and divided the teams into different categories like unloaders, the White Sox, the Rockies, the Angels, who the Padres are taking on right now. There's the hinge teams like the Diamondbacks and the Red Sox, who are probably going to play it out for the next couple of months and see if they can get it going and then maybe be buyers. But if they don't, they could still be sellers. Some tweeners, he said, teams like the Cubs and the Reds, who, again, are also kind of in that middle ground. And then there's the likely adders, where he includes the San Diego Padres in the mix. And here's what Jeff Passan wrote. Said, A.J. Preller was on the hunt for starters even before Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove wound up on the injured list. And the Padres are operating like an organization that believes it's closer to its 19-12 road record than its 13-19 stinkfest at home. San Diego has cobbled together one of the best bullpens in baseball, led by closer Robert Suarez and buttressed with two of the most underrated arms in the majors, right-hander Jeremiah Estrada and left-hander Adrian Morejon. Even with Xander Bogaerts out, Fernando Tatis Jr. not playing to expectations, and Manny Machado struggling, the hope is that the offense can score enough to allow Preller to spend prospect capital on pitching instead of hitting. Even after getting Dylan Cease, the state of San Diego's starting pitching is grim. And the Padres are going to need to get creative to fill the void and still remain under the luxury tax threshold with about $10 million of leeway.
$10 million is not a lot
But if you're only acquiring someone for 2 months, you can acquire a $30 million player for 2 months at $10 million.
Right.
So it's not as limiting as it might be. The closer you get to the trade deadline, that opens up pretty much every player and pitcher in baseball. For instance, in the sellers, he mentions the Angels and last night's starting pitcher Tyler Anderson, who's making $13 million this year. So prorated. You could acquire him now and stay under the luxury tax. Also $13 million next year, which, based on what guys like Michael Wacha are getting, $13 million for Tyler Anderson is not an exorbitant price tag. And he absolutely could be someone that I would think the Padres might target in trade deadline talks to acquire a veteran left-hander. They don't have any, lefties in their starting rotation on an everyday basis. So that seems to me like someone who makes a ton of sense, actually, for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, potentially. Any other names involved? I've seen Eric Fetty, who is really looking sharp with the White Sox.
Braxton Garrett would be a left-hander with the Marlins. And then, of course, Jesus Luzardo has been talked about a lot. Would obviously cost more prospect capital than some of the other guys.
He doesn't make a ton of money, and you'll have a couple of years of control with him as well. I want to look at Fetty's contract because he's an interesting dude. He is one of those guys that went overseas, really found something, and is coming back and pitching really well on a bad team. Probably why they signed him, so that they could move him.
He's the White Sox. What were you going to say?
I said another thing that might lead to possibly trading with the Marlins again. Just broken by Jeff Passan, outfielder Avisel Garcia has just been DFA'd by the Marlins.
Holy cow.
Garcia is in the third year of a 4-year, $53 million contract, which means the Marlins are going to eat nearly $24 million.
They DFA'd him. Holy smokes.
The White Sox, according to Passan, are willing to trade Garrett Crochet.
Yep.
Who's converted from bullpen to a starter and has been very successful so far early this season. He's controlled for another couple of years, though, so they're going to actually obviously ask for quite a bit and try to take advantage of his hot start, knowing that they're not going anywhere probably this year or really next year. If you're the White Sox, there's not a lot of near-term hope that they're going to be a contender, so they're going to continue to try to convert into bigger prospects.
I think they're years away.
Yeah, but he's a lefty as well. That's a name that wouldn't surprise me if A.J. Preller made a play. He likes to attack those guys who are, breaking out like Garrett Crochet is. Didn't work out with Adam Frazier a couple of years ago on the hitting side, but certainly fits the mold of someone that A.J. Preller might be interested in.
What are we waiting on? Let's go. I'm getting impatient here. It's been a couple of weeks since we acquired
Do you not
Luis
think
Ariz.
that there's value in seeing more of what the Padres have and giving it a few more weeks before you pull the trigger on a trade? Like you don't want to make a trade now and realize, you know what, we should have saved that prospect capital for something else that we needed instead. You know, if Adam Mazier comes up and, makes some 3 or 4 great starts, and then Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove come off the injured list, and all of a sudden you got Matt Waldron going well, maybe you don't need starting pitching. I think you do, but
I don't know that that's ever been said for a playoff run.
But maybe you need something more. Maybe you need a catcher more. Maybe you need a right-handed power-hitting bat more. Maybe you need bullpen more. If you can only make a certain number of moves, and because of the luxury tax because of your prospects, there's only a number of moves you can make. Perhaps it's better to wait a little bit and be as close to as sure as what you need as opposed to pulling the trigger now.
I mean, I look at it right now and I go, yeah, there's 2 holes right now. And if are you confident that Mazier and Randy Vasquez are going to be able to plug those holes long enough for those guys to come back? And again, there's no guarantee that they've pitched a couple starts, they've gone on the IL. A couple starts, gone on the IL. That's not something that is going to lead to success much beyond. And if you get to the postseason, you got to make sure you and Joe are healthy and ready to go. I think you go out and try to make a move for a starting pitcher as soon as you can. I don't know that waiting. What would be the reason to wait? Just to kind of see what Mazier can do. They're not going to count on him for big innings. To wait and see what Vasquez can do. Those guys could slot into the bullpen. Honestly, like move them out if you get another starting pitcher.
I think the only reason to wait is that you feel like you can't make that many more moves. The next move you make might be the last one you can make. Because you are trying to stay under the luxury tax. Because you only have so many prospects that you're willing to trade, sure. The next move might be the last one. So it better be the right one. It better be the one that you need. You better get this one correct. Now, if you're absolutely sure it's pitching, yeah, you probably would want that pitcher on your team as early as possible, as long as you can. But if there's a chance that you might wish that it was something else in 2 months, and you're going, I wish we had waited and made a trade in mid-July for a reliever or made a trade for a catcher in mid-July, then maybe patience is actually a virtue in this situation.
Listen, one thing I do know is that A.J. Preller will be active because he's always active. He's never really not active in trying to add a piece that's going to help this team win. I do see a lot of chatter still about the Padres window. Yeah, I mean, look, it's why the Brian Kenny Padres should rebuild thing never makes sense to me. Like they are going to continue to go for it, albeit in a different manner than they have in the past. They're going to have to be a little bit smarter, like what they did with Ariz. I mean, look, let's be honest. He's got to go out and fleece a GM or two. He really does. It needs to be his best work as a GM. That's the pressure that's on A.J. Preller right now. Hey, by the way, so far so good. So far so good this season. So
the Ariz trade's been terrific.
It's brilliant.
But AJ's history at the trade deadline has not been good in the past.
Correct.
Keep that in mind as well.
Keep that in mind as well. Like I said, he's got to bat 1,000 pretty much, and no GM does. But right now, with his limited resources and his, I guess, limited prospects, Guy has done a good job at creating value for some of his prospects that not a lot of people thought had a ton of value. So we'll see what happens. But I think sooner is better. I really do. I don't think you wait till the end of July to do it.
All right, let's take a time out. When we come back, it's an Incorporator Tuesday. Jesse Agler will join us, and only Woods knows if he's home or if he's at a hotel in the Anaheim area. Yeah. I don't know what the answer is to that. We'll find out next with Ben Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
try to get Jesse Agler on the line. It's proving a little more difficult than we expected. But you got your answer, sir.
Yeah, he's definitely in Orange County at the moment.
He is. And then not great service on his cell phone.
The far-flung areas of Orange County, apparently,
Correct.
that don't have good cell service.
Call can't be completed, guys. The call can't be completed. Professional radio.
Yeah, live broadcasting. It's always fun.
I mean, it's not as though there's only one method to communicate with people. Can we get them on a Zoom, a Teams, a Snapchat?
Let me put out a smoke signal.
Yeah.
Hold on, give me a second.
All right, keep working on that, IP. Maybe he can call the hotline from his cell?
I think that was not working. That
Not
was the
cell,
problem.
from his room?
Well, then you've got outgoing charges at the hotel. Do they still do that?
Yes, Eric Meyer. I'll pay for it. I'll Venmo you. Will it cost you a nickel to make that call? I got it. Just put it on my tab.
Oh, no, it's a hotel. Remember what it used to cost to make a call from a hotel?
I always had I always carried a calling card with me, so I would use that. So you didn't.
Or you go down to the payphone down in the lobby instead of using your hotel phone, which they would charge you like $4 a minute or something to make a call to order for a pizza, which was insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I bet you're not a big room service guy.
No, why would you order lesser food at a higher price when you can simply go down the block and get something yourself?
You know why? Convenience and eating in your hotel room is very fun. It's very fun to do. And then you take it and you leave it out. It's the greatest bit of all time. Here you go. Just going to leave this right here outside the door. Somebody else's problem. There's nothing like it.
I mean, I do enjoy those silver cloches.
The cloche.
Which I believe was an incorporator
Cloche,
word.
yeah.
Early in his incorporator tenure. All right. Look, they're still working. All right, let's check traffic, and then we can come back.
We think.
The very far-flung Jesse Agler will join us next year on 97.3 The Fan. I believe we finally have connected with Jesse Agler. I don't know where they're staying, like out on Catalina, and they've got to take a boat to the game or something, but he is with us here on an Incorporator Tuesday on 97.3 The Fan. Jesse, good morning.
Good morning, guys. I cannot really hear you. I can only sort of hear you in the background. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you perfectly.
Perfectly. You sound great.
Okay, there you go.
You're at the Disneyland Hotel or something. What's the, was it your cell phone that wasn't working?
Yeah, nobody seems to have self-service here, no matter what company you have. Everybody has different companies, and it doesn't work well for anybody, it seems. So we're on the hotel phone. I don't know the last time I touched a hotel phone, like physically touched it.
So you're not a big room service guy then?
No.
I agree with you.
I love room service. Are you guys kidding? You really don't like room service?
It's 2024, man. DoorDash.
Fair. That's fair. That's fair. DoorDash, yeah, that's probably more convenient.
More options.
Cheaper.
Yeah.
More options,
Yeah.
a third of the price, etc.
I don't know why I was so fascinated by you. I texted you yesterday to get this information. Did you come home, after the trip and then drive up for the games, or do you stay in the hotel? And you said, no, I'm staying in the hotel this time. And I said, that's a wise decision that you made. I, too, would stay in the hotel. Sorry, babe, I know I'm 70 miles from our house. I cannot make it down there.
It's a terrible drive, though. It really
is a bad drive.
A terrible drive.
Bad drive. It's like an hour and a half or whatever from my house. And to do that, at 11 o'clock at night after a game, 3 straight days, doesn't feel great. So, that was kind of my thinking. Now, had this been the first stop in the trip, might have stayed home for an extra day or two and done that. But kind of on the back end of a road trip, it sort of felt like, all right, I'm already here. And I'll see you guys in a couple days.
Yeah, works for me.
So Woods is very frustrated this morning. Obviously, I would have liked to have seen the Padres win, but
irrationally, I said it.
I didn't have that same maybe level of frustration to me. Padres, I will agree with Mike Schilt. They're a team playing some good baseball. They're not going to win every single game. And last night simply was a case where the game on the margins, the going for the extra bases didn't work out. The runners with scoring position didn't work out. I didn't see any signs of like larger problems or anything. Just happened to not come through last night. But I don't expect that to be an ongoing issue, Jesse, for the Padres.
All right. Look, every loss generally is frustrating, in some way or another. And, we can pick apart what was frustrating about last night versus some other game. But, yeah, as you said, you're not going to win every one. I think for me, the two main things to come out of yesterday that I assume people are kind of wrapped up in are the aggressive base running, which I don't consider an issue in any way, shape, or form. Now, do I think both decisions last night were good decisions? Maybe not. The first one, I think in particular, the play was in front of Kim. He decided to make the aggressive play. I think in retrospect, if he had to do that one over again, he's probably stopping at second base. The second one, got to go. Make them make the play they did. I think every third base coach in baseball makes the decision that Tim Leeper made. Oh, by the way, you didn't really have another shot to score again after that. So if they had left him there and he didn't come home, we'd be, ruining that decision. So I was totally fine with that. The lefty thing, though, is the other one. And the Padres' struggles against left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
And, this is one that popped up on my radar, I don't know, back in April, late April. And it was just kind of weird, right? And I started asking around kind of quietly, like, hey, you got anything on this? And it was a little bit early on in the season, I think, for anybody to read too far into it. But, sometime in the last homestand, Mike Schilt kind of allowed to us publicly that, against left-handed pitchers, the fly ball rate for the hitters was, higher than maybe they wanted it to be or expected it to be. So I've kind of kept my eye on that. And now, look, Tyler Anderson's having a really good year. He's pitched really well against the Padres, it seems like, every time out. Yep. This guy has tortured them many times. So it maybe wasn't like the greatest surprise in the world yesterday, but that's one that I would kind of keep my eye on. And so I guess my point is, if you want to take something out of yesterday and sort of apply it to the future, I would say we got to continue to keep our eye on this lefty thing. And Patrick Sandoval is going tonight for the Angels. He's another left-handed pitcher. Be interesting to see how that goes. It's a weird one. It really is. I don't think there's any great explanation for it, other than maybe generally this year, Manny and Fernando, who have in their careers just crushed lefties, have not yet reached sort of, their peaks. Now they're both heading in a really good direction. But I think going into yesterday, Fernando hitting about 100 points lower against lefties this year than he had in his career. Manny maybe more than 100 points against lefties this year than the rest of his career. So if those guys start getting going generally, one would imagine they're also going to get going against lefties, and that could totally change all that stuff. So, that's kind of my takeaway from yesterday. I think getting wrapped up in a single decision by a third base coach is probably not my angle from yesterday's game. And like I said, I agreed with what Tim Leeper did. I'm watching that play unfold in real time, and sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, running into outs, the Kim extra bag. Look, I think you can justify really all of it. You don't want to change the personality of your team, but I also, Jesse, think that this team has shown this year the ability to, hey, sometimes it takes till the eighth inning when you can string 9 straight hits together. So I know this is not a team that's waiting on the 3-run homer anymore, and I love that about them. I mean, they have the ability to paper cut you to death, and they've done it. I think that was kind of my only thing of like, hey, man, Ha-Sung, you're in scoring position. Fernando or Jerkson, you're at third. Manny's coming up, who they most certainly would have walked, but Solano's been mashing. Like, I have to remember, though, what Mike Schilt said and Manny Machado said, you keep giving yourself opportunities of at least getting guys on base, you're going to win hopefully more of those than you lose. So
yeah, and not only that, but as you said, they've shown the ability to do it this year, and two, yeah, all right, it didn't happen last night, but there's nothing there that made me concerned for the long-term future of the team.
Same.
And I think as long as that's not the case, then you can't get too wrapped up in it. I know the Angels aren't very good. I know their record is bad. I know their home record is particularly bad. But that's just how baseball goes.
It is.
Speaking of paper cutting a team to death, your perspective on that 9-run, 11-hit, 8th inning on Friday night in Kansas City. I'm sure your scorecard got a workout for that one, but that was one of the more remarkable things I think I've seen as a Padres fan.
Yeah, no, remarkable is a great word for it because it kept happening. First of all, they'd never had 11 hits in an inning before, so a little bit of franchise history there. But I mean, just the fact it was just single, 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 single to start the game, and I mean, then you had that bottom of the ninth inning, and it was just a game that was scoreless after 5 turned into one of the wildest games we've seen in the last couple of years. And it's just such a great reminder of the beautiful stupidity of baseball, as I like to say. And you never quite know how a game is going to go. You might think you know how it's going after a couple of innings. You might think you have a sense of the way this thing is going to end, one way or the other, and then all of a sudden, it's just absolute bedlam out there. I think that's such a great example, that game, of the unpredictability of the sport and the craziness of the sport. And it was a lot of fun, obviously, to be on the right side of it and to be able to hold on and get that win. I know it wasn't ideal to have to go to Suarez, and that certainly came back in the Sunday game in Kansas City. But that top of the 8th was about as entertaining of a half inning as you'll ever see, just because there was honestly a point where I felt to myself, I don't know if this is going to stop.
Right.
It felt like it was going to go forever. It was incredible.
Well, I mean, I'm glad it did because, Suarez comes in and tying run is at the plate. When he hit it, did you think he had it?
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, your call was good.
Yeah, your call was good. Your call was we played it yesterday on the air, and it was good. You couldn't. Don almost killed me. Don gave me straight up. I could hear my heart beating through my chest, and the remote was about to go crashing.
You at least left the possibility that it might not leave the yard, which helped me listening it again. Stressful, though. Very stressful.
That was gnarly. That would have been the worst loss I've ever seen.
That was one of the like I said, it's one of the craziest games we've ever seen. But yeah, off the bat, I don't know that I necessarily thought he got it, but I definitely knew it was possible. I think part of the issue too was not issue, but to get a little bit more in the weeds here, is I've done so few games in Kansas City. I don't have a total feel of what it looks like, from our perspective. If we're at Dodger Stadium or Petco or one of the places we've been a million times, generally it's a little easier for me to have a sense of what it looks and sounds like, if a guy gets all of it. That was only the second series I've ever done in Kansas City, and the other one was 2 years ago, so it's a little bit less consistent. And that was the first game of that series, so it was kind of all right, I'm not entirely sure, but I know he hit it well. And thankfully it went the way it did.
And I think StatCast said it was a home run in 21 of 30 parks, just not Kansas City. Speaking of stressful, my last question before the Incorporator. Do you sense some stress because of the injuries to Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove? I felt like the last time they went on the IL, it was pretty you know what, let's just be on the safe side, cautious. Is there any more concern you're sensing from inside the clubhouse about the second trips for both of these guys?
I don't have a sense of that. I mean, they were both here yesterday. Darvish was playing catch in the outfield, which is obviously a pretty good sign. Now it's a leg thing, not an arm thing. So playing catch isn't necessarily a sign that his return is imminent. And I think they're going to be safe with both guys. The one that for me is a little bit all right, let's wait and see, is Joe. I mean, and that's not based on anything I know. It's just you've got a guy with an arm injury who's already been on the IL with an arm injury, and he's a pitcher. You have to be a little bit concerned. But I know it is just killing that guy to not be out there right now. I know that. But it's look, anytime 2/5 of your rotation is on the IL at the same time, you don't feel great about it. But Randy Vasquez has done a really good job a couple times out. The rest of the guys are pitching well. I'm excited to see Major tonight and kind of, get a look at him in the major leagues for the first time. Moving forward, they can still move some things around and manipulate things. They can continue to roll with Major if they want. You got Brito and Morejon as possibilities to kind of piece something together in one of those spots. So, look, the good news, quote unquote, and we talked about this earlier in the year, when both of those guys had some time on the IL, is that, the depth in this organization now when it comes to starting pitching is noticeably different than really at any point in the last few years. Everybody remembers, 2021 was it, when everything just completely fell apart down the stretch, and it was, a bullpen day 3 times a week or whatever it was. And, now, look, it's not an ideal situation. It is tenuous. It always is with injuries to starting pitching. But, you really do feel like they've got a pretty good way to kind of, cover it, for 2 really high caliber guys. So from that standpoint, I feel as good as I possibly could right now.
Love it. And I'm going to give Jesse this Incorporator word today. I don't have the sound. I just know how to say it. So
you do?
Yeah. Axissimus. It is an ironic rhetorical device in which one feigns indifference or makes a pretense of refusing something one desires. It's a confusing word and it's a confusing definition. Axismus.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Could I use it in a sentence?
Can
Yes.
you? That's the thing.
I can.
I don't know that you can.
I'm about to do it.
Okay.
I'm not doing it. They did it for me.
Okay.
Clarence's simpering, that's a good word, that he couldn't possibly accept such a generous gift is an example of Axismus, for he has repeatedly shown the audience his weakness for luxury. He's feigning like,
This
oh,
has got to be the
I could
most
never,
confusing one ever.
I could never do that. It's a
Feigning
noun.
indifference.
Yeah, feigning indifference.
But you really do want it badly.
But you really do want it badly.
Oh.
I think you could use that in a baseball context.
You're playing
I really
it cool,
do.
essentially. You're playing it cool.
No, it's you're full of S.
Yeah,
basically.
but that's
yeah.
what you do when you
Yeah, it's
play
true.
something cool.
Play it cool.
You don't show how much you badly you want something. No. I don't need the Padres to win tonight.
I could never. Ben
Axismus.
is full of Axismus.
It would
today.
be. All right, so it's Woodsy being like, I'm not worried about running into outs at the plate.
That's exactly right. Thank you.
Axismus.
I'm
There it is.
going to send you the screenshot right now.
Axismus. All right, Jesse.
Thank you, buddy.
Good luck. We will see you back next week.
See you later.
Jesse Agler, the Incorporator.
See you later.
Listen for Axismus tonight on the broadcast.
It's a toughie.
We will talk more about the game tonight in our final hour. Also get some Italian Paul. Ryan will report coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan. continues to be very difficult to make sense of the San Diego Padres. We were just talking to Jesse Agler. Always thank Jesse for his Tuesday appearances and talking about the struggles against left-handed pitching, which I agree with him 100%. You look at the guys who normally crush left-handed pitching, Tatis, Machado, even Ha-Seong Kim, and they have all gotten off to struggling starts. So, yeah, that makes total sense. But, I mean, last night, Manny hit a home run and was walked twice. Tatis extended his hitting streak to 9 games with an absolutely scorched ball and is hitting .361 over those 9 games. Ha-Seong Kim had 2 extra base hits. All 3 of those guys did what you kind of expect them to do, and yet the Padres only ended up with 1 run in the game, even though they did what you'd want to see from those guys generally against a better left-handed pitcher. Just the timing was just bad last night for the Padres.
Okay, so I'm in a Twitter debate with Jake right now. Padres fan 57? 67. I put my glasses on. 67. He's very mad about talking about series wins. It's rubbing him the wrong way. And I'm it is a friendly debate, but he said that you and I are blowing smoke about getting excited about series wins. And I want to say that I'm trying to see his point here. He said it's meaningless unless your record is improving. Being the same place they were 3 weeks ago, 1 game over 500 is evidence that all those
they were 4 games under 500 3 weeks
right.
ago.
So again, this is 1 game over 500 is evidence that all those series wins are meaningless. I do have a hard time wrapping my head around. I'm not excited, Ben, that they're a game over 500, but I also, if they could be so much worse right now had they not won those series wins, which is why series wins are important, but they're not the end-all, be-all.
Well, I was the first one to say, if you really want to make hay, you have to get some sweeps.
You got to get some sweeps.
You're making it harder on yourself by having to win every single series, but because you're making progress. Slowly but surely, you're making progress. And Padres are in a playoff spot right now. If they keep winning series, they're not going to get passed by teams if they win series.
They're not going to what?
They're not going to get passed
Correct.
up. As long as they continue to win series, they'll be fine.
Treading water in a
They're
100.
not treading water. They've been moving forward.
You know what I'm saying. They're moving a little bit slowly. It's a snail's pace. And I get what Jake's saying here. He said, no one should be fired, but stop with but they won all those series. I'm not celebrating series wins. I'm saying series wins are okay right now. They're just okay. They're not great, but they're certainly better than series losses. I mean, obviously, I thought that went without saying. And getting swept by the Rockies is brutal. You know, not being able to complete the sweep against the Marlins was brutal. Not being able to complete the sweep against the Royals was brutal. I mean, you're talking about a whole different ball game if they win those games. And those are winnable games. Those are games they should win.
Well, I mean, in some ways he's right. And I got this stat, my friend and competitor Darnay last night had this one, which is an interesting stat. So he had the Padres series records through 62 games for the last 2 seasons, taking out the ties. He said 12 series wins, 7 series losses this year. Last year, 6 series wins, 11 series losses. But last year they swept a couple, so they're only 3 games better in the standings, or now 2. That was before the end of the game last night. So they were 32-30, 29-33. You can overcome a couple of bad series by sweeping here or there. That's why you want to sweep every once in a while.
100%. And I'm desperate to see
But most of the time you're not going to sweep.
Most of the time you're not going to, unless you're the Phillies.
That doesn't happen a ton. Sweeps are rare. I'm just saying you just need 1 or 2 every once in a while.
You got to. And I think what we're all lamenting, Jake and myself, is, again, closing out that game, or showing up at that game against the Marlins, closing out that series in Kansas City when you had them, 2-run lead in the 9th inning. That's a sweep, man. You got it. Just get those 3 outs. You got that sweep. I know it's easier said than done. And then I'm missing another one. The Marlins
and the Phillies.
No, not the Phillies.
The Royals just last.
Yeah, the Royals. Well, I said the Royals.
There's another one?
The Royals, the Marlins.
They've had 5 where they've won the first 2 games and then lost.
And then losing the first one to the Angels, and now you can't sweep the Angels. So I understand what you're saying. I think I hated those. And I was really mad at them after that Marlins win. Or Marlins loss when they just did not show up that day. But, yeah, last night, that's why I was so pissed about last night. We need sweeps, and they're a good team to sweep, and we didn't get it.
look at the New York Yankees. They have 5 sweeps, and that's why they're 42-19, and they're 23 games above 500. But they just went to Anaheim and played the Angels. And guess what? They lost a tough 1-run game in the first game of the series, came back and won a 2-1 game in the second game, and then they won 8-3 to take the series win. But because they've been winning, it doesn't, no, I don't think the Yankees fans were panicking because they lost to the Angels 4-3.
Again, they have a. I think Jake's too is like if we're 5-6 games over, fine, right? But it's just hard, man. The 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I understand. It's not a fun watch. It's not fun to cover. It's not. No one's celebrating like hell yeah, man. Like
Tyler Anderson held him to 1 run. In his last start, the New York Yankees, the hottest, best team in baseball. Tyler Anderson, 5 innings, 4 hits. 1 run, 4 strikeouts in his last start against the Yankees.
Chris makes a good point. He says it doesn't feel sustainable at the current pace. Another 5-game losing streak would take 15 games out of winning 2 to 3 to balance out. Bad stretches are inevitable with injuries, but you need to build a cushion when you're playing bad teams. And I think that's what Jake's overarching point is. And mine too.
Okay, so here's I finally figured it out, and we may need to stretch Italian Paul into 2 segments.
Sorry, Italian Paul.
The Padres need to go on a 5 or 6 game winning streak before they go on a 5 or 6 game losing streak again. They don't have to sweep every series. They don't have to sweep one right away. As long as they avoid going on a 5-game losing streak, winning series is fine.
Yes.
The next stretch, and there will be one.
Skid, yeah.
There'll either be a winning streak or a skid, one way or another. And I'm talking about 5 or more either way. Right now, the Padres have one streak of more than 5 games, at least 5 games. It was a losing streak.
Yep.
It was when they got swept by the Phillies. They had lost the first game before that and the first game after that. That's their only 5-game stretch of the season. They have one 4-game winning streak, came at the last 2 games of the series and the first 2 games of the series. The next time they either win 4 or 5 in a row or lose 4 and 5 in a row will be very telling. Because if they win 5 in a row, maybe he starts today. Then they're 6 games above 500. They've got a little bit of a cushion. We're feeling pretty good. If they lose 5 in a row, starting, the last 2 games, all of a sudden they're 2 games under 500. Now they got work to do again. So they just have to go on a winning streak before they go on a losing streak.
Correct.
Going forward. Until then, we keep winning series. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, until that happens.
Don't not win series and then drop 6 in a row all of a sudden.
Yep.
Because that'll put you in bad shape.
Andros says it feels like they're on the edge of disaster. There's never a true feeling of confidence. I can get behind that. There is. There's a way. There is that feeling of the doom.
Doesn't it also feel like they're on the edge of breaking out, though, too?
Yes, that's why they're so frustrating. All right, let's get some Italian Paul action. We got some time.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Okay, how are you?
On 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a oh yeah? Oh yeah.
All right, Italian Paul, take it away.
Yep, so I will take it away. This first one here, you're going to have to bear with me.
Oh, boy.
Because slightly dyslexic, a lot of numbers.
Okay.
There might be a couple of stumbles.
All right.
All right, we'll open up the Italian Paul report with a quick look at what's going on in the minor league system for the Padres because it's June. They're a good way into their season, and because I needed to get to bed early, and this was the least likely thing to change. The El Paso Chihuahuas are currently 4th in the PCL's Eastern Division with a record of 24-33. Graham Pauley currently hitting .232 with 6 home runs, 26 RBIs for El Paso. They begin a 6-game series at home against the Vegas Aviators tonight.
Okay.
The San Antonio Missions are 22-28 in the AA Texas League South and have lost 8 of their last 10 games. Padres' number 2 ranked prospect, Robbie Snelling, is 1 for 4 on the season with an ERA of 5.14, 36 strikeouts, 42 innings in 9 starts.
He's working on stuff.
The Missions starting a 6-game road series against the Midland Rockhounds tonight. The Fort Wayne Tin Caps, this is the last one, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, are 23-28 and are last in the High A Midwest League Eastern standings.
Very cool.
Dylan Lesko is 1-3 with a 6.35 ERA, 36 strikeouts in 34 innings. Meanwhile, Ethan Salas is only hitting 139, 1 home run, 18 RBIs in 161 at-bats. We went over Mazur's numbers earlier in the show, but that's 4 of the top 6 ranked prospects in the organization on pretty shocking teams with pretty shocking numbers.
Trade them all. If you can find a taker.
It's not necessarily what I was going for.
I mean, the
with
win-loss
that.
record doesn't matter. You'd like to see some of the top prospects, having huge seasons in the minor leagues. They're not really getting a ton of great performances right now in the minor leagues. Is it panic time? No, it's May. It's early even in the season, but Salas again. Remember, is 17 years.
Sure, he just turned 18.
He just turned 18, but he's still. He's playing in high A ball against guys who are a lot older than he is. There's going to be some struggles there. I think he's still ranked as the 6th prospect in all of baseball.
Italian Paul, do you want to do rankings of favorite pets that we've lost in tough fashion next? Because that was about as uplifting as that.
I wasn't necessarily
What is
trying
the
to bring
worst
it
way
downer.
your pet has died? Because I've lost 3 to coyotes, and that's not cool. Let's talk about it. Anything else? Any sorts of...
You thought you put up a higher fence after the first 2, but you had a third one.
Their coyotes are marvels. I can't even really be mad at them. It's not their fault. It's sad, though.
Like I said, I didn't mean to be a downer. I was just bringing an update.
Let's
That's
talk
really
about
it.
debilitating cancers next on the Italian Paul Report.
All right. So speaking of debilitating cancers,
Great.
the ballot of the College Football Hall of Fame was announced yesterday, with the big headline names being Nick Saban and Urban Meyer. Between the two, there are 10 national championships and a combined win-loss record of, get this, 484, 103, and 1. They joined 77 players and 9 coaches from D1 college football and 101 players and 34 coaches from D2 and D3 schools. Other first-timers on this year's ballot are Pitt defensive lineman Aaron Donald, Alabama running back Mark Ingram, Cal wide receiver Deshaun Jackson, and Notre Dame linebacker Manti Te'o. I know the kids only stay there for 4 years, but it feels weird having 2 head coaches headline a Hall of Fame ballot.
I think it's probably the easiest ballot of all time.
I mean, even if you don't like them, and I don't like either of them particularly.
I like Nick Saban.
Yeah, I know you do. They're both Hall of Famers, obviously.
I don't
in
like
college
Urban
football.
Meyer. I do like Nick Saban.
Now, one name that's not on there, and I saw some people complaining, and I'll tend to agree, that for whatever reason, I don't know what kind of eligibility standards there are, that Mike Leach is not eligible for the late Mike Leach is not eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame for some reason. And to me, that is an oversight. I think Mike Leach is a college football
innovator, the whole bit.
Hall of Fame level coach as well. So they're going to have to figure out a way to perhaps honor him at some point.
Do you have another story?
I do, really quick. And when I said it was weird to have head coaches headline, you're used to seeing guys like Jeter, Rivera, LeBron,
but
in
in
later
college
years.
These guys are the
coaches are the stars.
Yeah, they are the stars. Those guys are stars, period. They are.
One of the hottest stories in sports is only getting more legs as Chicago Sky guard Kennedy Carter has spoken a bit more on her incident with Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark from Saturday. For those of you who don't know, Indiana was getting ready to inbound the ball, and Carter came up from behind Clark, gave her a shoulder check to the back, knocking Clark down. After the game, Carter showed no remorse and almost chalked it up to a welcome to the league incident while declining to comment further. Clark spoke to the media yesterday saying, quote, "I'm seeing a lot of things, players, fans not understanding who I am as a player. You have to understand me as a person too. I don't just look at one tape and form an opinion about me. I'm truly passionate about the game, and I am genuine. Bottom line for me is there's a lot of new eyes on the WNBA now, And because of Caitlin Clark, and while she shouldn't be treated with kid gloves, giving her an NHL-style body check from behind isn't a great look for the league.
Yeah,
either.
we did this story yesterday with Bald Reindl, who was filling in for you and filling in for Paul Reindl. I mean, a lot happened yesterday. You have the Pat McAfee audio. Did you hear this audio, Ben?
I do have it. I'm going to have to get it back up, though. It'll be really quick.
That's
though.
fine.
That's fine.
I've noticed, so the WNBA is in a new realm at the moment.
Yeah, new territory.
And they're getting covered like some of the men's leagues are being covered, which is a good thing, I think. But they're kind of used to the uplifting, like, we need to encourage and support women's sports, which we do. But it mostly came, like most stories in the past about the WNBA were simply like the positive features. Like, we need to bring more positive attention to the WNBA.
Yes.
Now, and this is actually a sign of growth. Now they're actually getting some of the normal sports coverage, the warts and all that you see when, covering a sports league. These are competitive, professional athlete women. They're not simply out there for participation trophies and to have a good time. So there's going to be incidents on the court like we saw. And I think ultimately they're just not quite sure how to handle these things that are quite normal, when, in an NBA season, the controversies and the drama that goes on with it, kind of new because people are paying more attention to their league, which ultimately is what they were hoping for.
I have the McAfee clip here ready to
Okay,
go
real
for
quick,
you.
though, just to correct, I didn't know this, Ben. Adam Paul says Mike Leach isn't eligible. You have to have a 600 win percentage. He's at 596.
All right, hold on to the audio. We'll play it when we come back because I definitely think it's worth talking about with Pat McAfee. He was going to be in Don't Do This had we not had the breaking news about Marcano and Jay Groom earlier. 596 versus 600. Now, in college football, when you do that at like Washington State and other schools, that's phenomenal. If Nick Saban had a 596 winning percentage at Alabama, they would have fired him. He would have been a joke.
Or 600
It doesn't.
even,
Winning percentage there's huge context.
That's a rule, though?
That's apparently a rule, which is that needs to be thrown out the window because you can't. That's comparing apples to oranges in college football for the winning percentage to be the big difference. So, all right, hold on to that audio. We'll play it, kind of our delayed DDT moment from Pat McAfee talking about Caitlin Clark yesterday. And then we're going to talk about tonight's starting pitcher, Adam Major. Kevin Charity from Mad Friars is going to join us at the bottom of the hour. All ahead after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. I don't want to be the guy who defends Pat McAfee necessarily in this segment, but I wanted to play the audio from his show yesterday, talking about Caitlin Clark and what he had to say, and then let's talk about it for a minute or two, because we were just talking about the hip check and the treatment that she's gotten here in her first month in the Excuse me.
What in the? All right. Hold on. Stop. You can save that, yes?
I think I may have the abilities.
I'm going to need to play that for Paulie tomorrow, and I need you to put it in a very prominent place, okay?
Don't know how that happened.
Nor do I, but I loved every single. It's been a while. We needed a new one, and there it is. Oh, my.
There's your headline for the evening news. Ben Higgins dies. Co-host Stephen Woods laughs his ass off. We're good.
That's true.
That was incredible.
All right, let's
play the audio.
Let's play the audio while I recover.
The GOAT. Is she what? I don't know. With my eyes, I couldn't see if she's Caucasian or not. So I think what we're trying to say is what the WNBA currently has is what we like to describe as a cash cow. There is a superstar. And we're not saying that the players on the court need to act any differently. That's the athletes are going to do what athletes are going to do in any sport. And I think we're all learning that WNBA, that's old school football, baby. That is old school football. But I would like the media people that continue to say, this rookie class, this rookie class, this rookie class. Nah, just call it for what it is. There's one white bitch for the Indiana team who is a superstar.
There you go. So that was the comment that sparked a lot of controversy yesterday. And my immediate thought was I did one of these, cringe, like the pea shivers a little bit. That is a dude that is trying to be as edgy as possible. And as somebody that's been doing this for 14 years, I've been there. I've done the thing where I tried to be edgy. And it comes off as cringe, kind of. That's all I thought it was.
Well, I just don't think you can use that terminology if you don't know her personally and you're not friends with her. If that was a casual context, I think that's different. He was being positive about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA.
He was being positive about her, but again, trying to be edgy and just being like, man, that it just doesn't. It's cringe.
And then if I said you're a badass,
I love it.
That's a compliment.
That's a compliment. Right? Yes.
That's a compliment.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what he was trying to say.
She is that bee.
Yeah.
I can't even say it because it makes me cringy.
Well, because it is.
It's cringy.
And he apologized.
He
says, I shouldn't have used that phrase as a descriptor of Caitlin Clark, no matter the context. Even if we're talking about race being a reason for some of the stuff happening, I have way too much respect for her and women to put that into the universe.
And like I said, I'm not excusing. It's dumb. It sounds dumb, and it didn't sound bad. I'm not a Pat McAfee fan. I don't watch the show, really. I see the stuff that comes out on Twitter, which is pretty standard. I don't watch Stephen A. Smith. I see the stuff that comes out on Twitter. I don't watch Colin Cowherd. I see the stuff that comes out on Twitter. That's how I consume my media. But it did when I saw it. I went, "Oh no, Pat."
Caitlin Clark isn't some basketball angel who was just dropped into this league. She is she's a trash talker.
Yeah,
she's a complainer to the referees.
100%. That's
you know what makes her like tons of NBA stars as well.
Correct, dude. Correct. It's just
and that's okay.
Yeah,
but you don't necessarily have to act like she is some untouchable, perfect,
a piece
person,
of porcelain,
who's just been, you have to treat her with kid gloves. She's amazing, whatever. Flaws and all. She's great for women's basketball.
Just an edgy take by a guy that I think admittedly even tries to be edgy. And I trust me, man. This microphone in front of you makes you do weird stuff.
And
it does.
And I do not know. He was bringing up the racial aspect of it. The WNBA already has a lot of stars. Many of them are black women.
Yep.
Are they mad that now all of a sudden this white woman is in the league and getting all the attention? I can see why that could possibly be an issue.
100%.
I certainly could.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's true or not, but I can certainly see that, that doesn't seem fair in the scheme of things. Like they have and had great players in the league before Caitlin Clark. They just weren't getting the kind of attention that they're now getting because she's there.
Are you edgy?
Am I edgy?
Yes. Have you ever tried to be edgy?
Not really.
It never occurred to you like
It doesn't wear well on me.
it really doesn't wear well on me anymore. It's not who I want to be, really. So I see what he was doing. I just thought it came off sounding a little corny, and he's like, man, that's a bad bitch right there. Like if I said that, if I told my wife, like, man, you're a bad bitch, that's actually a compliment. She'd punch me right in the throat, though. I'm pretty sure if I did. Yeah, so there you go. Guy trying to be edgy, apologized. Hopefully it's over and he learned his lesson.
All right, looking forward to tonight's game just because we've heard so much about some of these prospects on their way, but not many of them actually do finally arrive. We got Jackson Merrill on the position side now. It's the first turn for a pitcher this year. Adam Mazur going to make his major league debut in Anaheim, and Kevin Charity from Mad Friars is going to give us a little Adam Mazur scouting report coming up in our final segment next here with Ben Woods on 97.3 The Fan. I mean, clearly, if you're going to hand the ball to a rookie making his major league debut, you'd rather not be asking him to end a losing streak.
Correct.
Padres have dropped their last 2 games, and we'll be relying on an unknown quantity tonight at the Big A in Anaheim. Adam Mazur going to make his major league debut on the mound, and we'll talk to Kevin Charity from Mad Friars, give us a little scouting report on what we can expect from Mazur right after our last check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. All right, we've been hearing about some of the hot prospects that the Padres have in their system for a while. On the pitching side, this is really the first graduate here of 2024, and joining us right now from Mad Friars, covering the Padres in the minor leagues, our regular contributor, Kevin Charity, back with us here on 97.3 The Fan. Kevin, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys. What's going on?
Man, all right, let's get your prediction. 6 shutout innings for the young Adam Mazur tonight is what I'm feeling. I wish, man. I wish I could count on that. But what can we expect from this youngster?
He's not the like a Paul Skeens type where he's got the exciting stuff that you're gonna just be blown away by watching him pitch. But the thing that for me that is the most impressive about him is command. Throughout his career, he's averaged less than 2 walks per 9 innings at every level he's pitched in, going back to last year when he started at Fort Wayne. So he's going to throw strikes consistently, often all night. His fastball is shown good velocity this year. I mean, he's somebody who can get up to 97, but he's going to sit in that 92 to 94 range. He's got a great slider. And he typically will keep the ball in the ball yard. I think for me, looking at somebody who has pretty solid defense behind him, he's going to keep the infield busy. He's going to get strikeouts when he needs it. He can get strikeouts when he needs to. He's averaging about 9 Ks per inning, or 9 Ks per 9 innings this year. So he's been solid. But I think in terms of the pitchers they've had debut over the last few years, I think his command is better than really any of them that we've seen going back the last 4 or 5 years.
Kevin, Mazur started the year in Double-A, pitched really well, then got the promotion. Feels like about 3 weeks ago. Talk about just kind of the numbers haven't been as good, but I know that the Padres they can't necessarily take a lot of stock in numbers from the Pacific Coast League.
Yeah, I honestly still haven't really figured out what their kind of rubric is for evaluating guys in AAA, because just looking at the numbers, one of the things I look at when I look at guys going from AA to AAA is kind of the walk to strikeout ratio, and that's been virtually the same. Looking at the numbers with the missions, I mean, he's averaging just under 9 Ks per 9 innings, 1.3 walks per 9 innings. A little bit less strikeouts in El Paso, like half a walk per 9 innings, very negligible. The big difference is in San Antonio, 3% of his fly balls left the ball yard. In El Paso, that number goes up to 18. So you got to wonder kind of how much is that the environments of pitching in the PCL. He's had starts in El Paso. He's had starts in Vegas, which are 2 of the launching pads in that league. So I think personally the fact that he's been able to kind of be himself, which is staying in the strike zone, getting some strikeouts when he needs it, but kind of having it inflated, the home run to fly ball ratio double what it's the highest it's ever been, in Fort Wayne last year and in San Antonio last year and this year. So I think for me personally, the fact that, he's not necessarily more hittable, but the hits that he's giving up or the balls that he's giving up are leaving the yard, to me, if he's pitching in San Diego, Anaheim, or somebody that, somewhere that's not like 6,000 feet above, and exaggerating obviously, but, the elevation, I think he'll be fine, and I think he'll more than hold his own.
Good. I mean, that's exactly what we need, Adam. And we need somebody that can come in and throw strikes. And again, use the defense behind you. Talking to Kevin Charity from Mad Friars. What's he like as a person? What's his makeup? I mean, tell us about him if you know.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a chance to talk to him personally. I mostly focus on the Storm, and he skipped Lake Elsinore. So,
yeah.
What I do know is he's a former SDSU right-hander, but he's the other SDSU, the South Dakota State, go Jackrabbits. pitch in Iowa, and he has, to me, stuff wise, a lot of similarities to Adam or to Eric Lauer when they drafted him a few years ago, in the sense that college pitcher, doesn't have blow away stuff, but has 3 to 4 solid pitches, a really good slider, really good changeup. He, from what we've heard, he's a very cerebral pitcher, very smart, and so I think for me personally, looking at what he brings, he doesn't maybe have the upside of like a Dylan Lesko, where you're looking at him as like an ace potential pitcher. But I think as a guy that can pepper the zone and that can really keep the ball out of the ballpark, pitching in a stabilized pitching environment, I think for me, looking at the depth options they have, even with guys like Jackson Wolf who are on the 40-man, he's the most obvious choice to come up. And I think just with his makeup and the way he throws, I think he'll be it'll be easy for him to be successful for sure.
Talking to Kevin Charity from Mad Friars, and big picture here, Kevin, you mentioned Jackson Wolf. We know Robbie Snelling's kind of been struggling a little bit with the injuries right now to Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove, and not knowing, if it'll be a minimum or longer for them to come back. Do you think the Padres have the depth to withstand this absence in their organization, or should A.J. Preller be more aggressive? We know he's probably looking for pitching. Should he be very aggressive, be willing to trade more prospects right now for big league pitching help, or should he be patient with some of the guys that he already has beyond measure?
I think this depends on what you can get and who you can get. I think the depth that they have in Double-A is a lot better than what they have in Triple-A. I mean, Snelling's velocity has been down just a tick the last few outings, and he's struggled pretty badly, but he's also a 20-year-old pitching Double-A. So I think for me, he's already kind of advanced to where he should be. Ryan Berger, his numbers aren't pretty, but he's pitched a lot better than his numbers look. He's not missing as many bats as he did last year, which is a little bit of a concern. You have Austin Krob down there, who's also kind of like a ground ball merchant, who can start as well. In AAA, I mean, it's kind of a hodgepodge of veterans. There's not really a lot of guys to me. Jackson Wolf is the obvious guy. He's a 40-man guy. He had a stretch where he looked really good, but the last couple of starts have been rough. Again, is that the PCL? Is that is that just mean he struggled? I think his command, from what I've seen, hasn't been as good the last few starts. So I tend to believe that maybe he needs a little bit more seasoning. But yeah, I mean, I think if they suffer some more injuries, I think you definitely. I mean, the question is, do you want to depend on a 20 or 21-year-old starter like Snelling, a guy like Berger who hasn't really pitched too much above Double-A in a pennant race, or do you want to go out and get somebody who you think that can eat innings? I think for me personally, I'd probably lean towards going outside the organization if they really need to get much deeper into the depth. But it remains to be seen. Looking at things month over month, we'll kind of see what Snelling has. He's typically been able to follow up bad outings with much better outings. So I think his start this week will be really interesting to watch.
Kevin Charity, Mad Friars, appreciate the quick scouting report this morning on Adam Mazur. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you, brother.
Good stuff. And we've seen it can kind of go two different ways. We see a lot of pitchers who come up in their first start, not, being unfamiliar to opposing hitters.
Yeah.
They have the advantage right away. Now, you also have pitchers who come up and they're a little overwhelmed by the big leagues in the moment, and they don't throw well, but you can't really judge either way. We've seen guys like Nick Margevicius, come up and look really good for a start or two, and then, talent level will win out. Which one will Adam Mazur be? I don't know. Hopefully, though, tonight he can channel the adrenaline, use the unfamiliarity of him to his advantage and give the Padres a chance to win this game and an opportunity to win the series tomorrow against the Angels. That's what you're looking for here.
Love to get on the board first again. I know it didn't really help last night, but getting on the board first when you're the away team, first licks are fantastic.
Yeah, and I don't think the Padres are expecting Adam Mazur to be here now for the long haul. I would say, if I were Mike Schultz, I'd say, we probably just need you for 2 or 3 starts. Come up, give us everything you got here. See what you can learn from this experience. Then you'll probably be going back down to implement some of that stuff, and then we'll be counting on you, I'm sure, at some point later this season. Now, if he pitches really, really well, maybe he forces the Padres to keep him around. And, they're never going to turn down someone who's contributing on the major league level. But right now, you're probably coming up here and going, this is my little audition. Just do what I can for a couple of starts. Give him as many good innings as I can and see if I can open some eyes and make sure that the door is open for a return sometime later this season.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, 6:38 again is start time tonight. Patrick Sandoval on the bump against Adam Major, making his major league debut. You can hear it right here on 97.3 The Fan. No anchor desk for you tonight, correct? Normal.
I don't believe so, but you never know. It was fairly impromptu yesterday. So
called to the bullpen.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did enjoy Matt Waldron got the pitching ninja treatment. There was one in particular.
The sword. Was it a sword?
No, this was the knuckleball that bounced off of Kyle right on the outside corner.
Nasty.
That bounced off Kyle Higashioka's mitt and went all the way to the backstop. It was a called strike. Credit to Dan Iassogna. He got that one right, even though it wasn't caught. It was a strike, and it went viral in terms of the crazy movement and just how it didn't look like it was a natural ball flight on that one. And I see people are even writing about Matt Waldron is starting to open some eyes around baseball as someone who's interesting to watch when he takes them out.
Yeah, he hit last night. I mean, the conviction in which he throws that knuckleball on different counts. I mean, it is an infuriating pitch to try to hit when it's effective. And man, he was fantastic last night. Hate blowing that brilliant start from him, the brilliant start from King. But hopefully those guys continue to build on what they're doing. The offense will catch up and bail them out a little bit a couple times. Not bail them out, but have their back a little bit. That's what you're going to need. Rookie on the bump tonight, man. The offense has got to show up, period. And I know it's a lefty, but you got to figure it out at some point. Tonight's a good night to do it.
It would help if Luis Ariz was back into the lineup. Going up against another lefty, I don't know. I would have felt better if he had pinch hit last night.
Yes.
But you would have been confident he'd be in there today. Now I can't be so sure about whether he's going to be in there. I do feel like the Padres offense, not just because they've been on the road, is generally still headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
And even though they only scored one yesterday, the way Manny hit that one, the fact that Tatis is on a 9-game hitting streak, the fact that Kim has had 2 games with multiple extra base hits on this road trip already, the signs are there that the offense is going to be okay. There will always be games where you score 0, 1, or 2 over a Major League Baseball season for whatever reason. You don't come through with hits in scoring position. But I think I'm seeing the right signs mostly. There's still guys, Jake's struggling a little bit. The catchers are still struggling for the most part. Jackson Merrill's not quite as sharp as he was, but the guys you want to get going are getting going, and that's a good sign.
What do you got over there, IP?
Really quick, this is just retweeted from Jeff Passan. Ippei Mizuhara, Shohei Ohtani's former longtime interpreter, pleaded guilty to bank and tax fraud charges during a change of plea hearing in federal court this morning.
Oh.
This carries a maximum sentence of 33 years.
33 years.
Sentencing is set for October 25th. At 2 p.m.
First-time offender. I doubt very much he gets 33 years.
Well, I mean, he did steal $16 million. It's a lot.
Allegedly.
Did he win more than 4% of his bets on Major League Baseball?
I don't think he was that sharp of a gambler either, from what I remember.
It doesn't
sound like it. All right, go Padres.
All right, that's it for us. Paulie Reindl should be back tomorrow from his Vegas vacation, but thank you for filling in ably. Italian Paul Frank Marchese.
Great job, IP.
We got Annie and Elston coming up next for Stephen Woods. I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Hopefully we'll be talking about a win tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Take care, everybody.